Chapter 9-10. Guiyu's expression changed slightly, but he still bit his lip and shook his head. I didn't. Shisheng released his hand and got off him. Guiyu, you chose this yourself. Guiyu panicked and reached out to grab Shisheng's shirt. I said don't go. Shisheng glanced at him, brushed his hand away and sat beside him. Speak. Guiyu sat on the sofa like a little wife and looked at the floor with his head lowered. After a while he said, I transferred my power to someone else. What did you say? Shisheng grabbed his hand and raised his voice. Who allowed you to do this? Guiyu lowered his head and didn't speak. If he didn't do this, he would never be able to touch her. He didn't regret it at all. Guiyu took a deep breath and tilted his head. There's no turning back. Will you protect me in the future? Protect your ass. Shisheng threw a pillow at him angrily. But if you don't protect me, I might die. Guiyu looked at Shisheng pitifully. Shisheng sneered. Huh. Then he might as well die. Damn idiot, taking matters into his own hands. Guiyu was a little nervous. He guessed that she would be angry, but he didn't expect her to be this angry. Shisheng pointed at him and didn't speak for a while. Finally, he dropped his hand. Guiyu immediately went forward and hugged his waist. See, I won't make you suffer now. Shisheng's heart throbbed slightly. She slowly raised her hand and ran her fingers through his soft silver hair. She sighed in her heart. He really owed it to him. Guiyu. Shisheng came down from the second floor and threw a few cards in front of Guiyu. She shouted angrily, You touched my LZ cards again? Guiyu nodded matter-of-factly. Yeah. Did you ignore what I told you last time? Shisheng was so angry that his head hurt. Guiyu tilted his head and said innocently, I didn't touch your card. Shisheng. Very good. You've learned how to take advantage of loopholes. You're so awesome. Aren't you earning money for me to spend? Guiyu continued. You said that you would support me. Poof. Shisheng almost spat out a mouthful of blood. She did say that, but how could she afford to support him if he spent so much money? They ate dirt every day. What did you buy? With so much money, did he buy the universe? I put them in your room. Her room? Shisheng thought about the junk that appeared in his room from time to time. He didn't want to talk to this idiot at all. I've already spent it, don't be angry. Guiyu tugged at her, her expression serious. I can repay you with my body. Flesh. Flesh for compensation? Shisheng reached out and lifted his chin. Didn't you say you didn't want it last time? What? How long has it been and you've changed your mind? Last time. Guiyu's face flushed red. I didn't have any experience last time. Oh. Are you experienced this time? Guiyu shook her head vigorously. No. Go upstairs. Oh. Guiyu stood up from the sofa with a red face and nervously walked upstairs. After a few steps she paused. If I repay you with my body, does that mean I can spend your money as I please? Shisheng. What kind of joke was that? What happened to being thrifty and diligent? Bad review. Shisheng laughed eerily. Let's see if you can serve her well. Guiyu turned her head. A faint smile slowly appearing on her face. Not long after, Shisheng found out that Chu Miao had been resurrected. Her body was found in a hospital. Chu Yinin was anxious to find Chu Miao because she needed her to take over her responsibility of guarding the enchantment of Chu village. But now that He Xiao was dead, Chu Miao didn't need to do this anymore. But Chu Miao still couldn't forgive Chu Yinin because she and Li Chunyan had treated her so badly. Chu Yinin probably knew that she wouldn't be forgiven, so she tried everything to find Chu Miao's body and bring her back to life. But why was she sent to the hospital in the first place? It was still a mystery. After returning to life, Chu Miao went to find Shisheng once, but Shisheng didn't see her. Chu Miao muttered outside for a while before leaving. After that, Shisheng never heard from her again. Shisheng didn't return to the system space until Guiyu left this world. The system space was as quiet as ever. The system didn't even say anything and directly showed him his information. Name, Shisheng morality points. 290000 health points. 40 contribution points. 53,000 mission grade. A mission points. 92 side mission. Completed side mission reward. 5,000 contribution points item list. Queen's crown. Ghost King's Heart, Dark Night. Kirin Blood, why did my morality points increase again? Did I do something to save the world? I've never seen a host who wanted to reduce morality points so much. Well, I only have one host. Although the system was reluctant, it still explained. The host killed Heisha and indirectly saved many people. The following merits will be counted on you. F***CK, I shouldn't have killed it. This kind of host should be destroyed humanely. It's a disaster if it's alive. Next world. The system couldn't wait for Shisheng to leave the system space and immediately started the transmission. Transmission begins. Shisheng's figure disappeared from the system space. Just as the system heaved a sigh of relief, the information screen suddenly flashed, and countless messy letters appeared on the screen. The system was shocked. Master. No one responded, and the letters continued to jump on the screen. After a few minutes, the screen flashed and went black. The next second, a blurry figure appeared on the screen. Master. The system's voice seemed to be tinged with surprise. The master was finally online. Host, your end is coming. How is she? Probably because of the instability. The man's voice was intermittent and not very clear. The host has always treated these worlds as games. Other than Feng Xi, I don't think she cares about anyone else. She even hacked into the system and got some rights. The system immediately began to complain. The person on the other side didn't know what to do, and only spoke after a long time. Are there any other changes? Someone came in, and is always targeting the host. The host said his name is Mubai, but I don't have this person in my database, and there's no way to clear or scan him. Mubai? Yes, do you know him, Master? No, I don't. Master doesn't even know him? Then what's with this virus? The screen flashed unsteadily, and the blurry figure became even more blurred. The channel hasn't stabilized yet. I'll restore it as soon as possible. The voice stopped abruptly. Master. Hey, Master. I haven't finished speaking yet. Why did you disappear again? The system tried to contact its master, but there was no news. There was no way to contact it. So it was still a left-behind child? * the 27th world ended. I don't want to talk. Let me be alone. Chapter 911. Everyone knew that the Princess Royal was plotting something against the Prime Minister. Clang. The sound of weapons clashing was like a symphony, and the air was full of killing intent. Shisheng was jolted awake. In a very narrow space, Shisheng quickly scanned her body and surroundings. Ancient costume, horse carriage. This was an ancient plane. The horse carriage was running wildly, and the ground was probably very uneven. She almost couldn't stabilize herself. Crack! There was a crisp sound from the bottom of the horse carriage, and then Shisheng felt herself falling. The curtains were sucked out of the window, revealing the scenery outside. The rocks outside kept moving upwards. Cold wind poured in from outside, cutting her face like a knife. Shisheng. This timeline was 2F** King Bad. Falling off a cliff as soon as she arrived. Would she meet the old grandpa again? Get the mysterious inheritance? Go back and slap the face? Bah, this was the treatment of a female lead. How could a cannon fodder like her have such treatment? Shisheng kicked open the door and jumped down. Iron Sword caught her from below. The horse carriage fell to the rocks at the bottom and smashed into pieces. If she had fallen like that, she would have been disfigured even if she didn't die. Just thinking about it was scary. Shisheng landed on the ground and felt a sharp pain in her back. She touched her back, and it was covered in blood. She guessed that she had been injured before she arrived. Shisheng was afraid that she would die from excessive blood loss, so she quickly found a place to stop the bleeding. The wound was in the back, and it was difficult to bandage. It took a long time to finish. She wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. Accept the plot. This was an ancient CEO story about the overbearing prince falling in love with me. The original owner, Duan Muning, was the Princess Royal of Jin, and was doted on by everyone. Her mother was the late empress, and was the emperor's favorite when he was young. Because the empress passed away early, the empress was still the emperor's favorite. He naturally doted on the empress's only child. The original owner was born in a good family, had a high status, and was doted on. She had a little temper, and everyone in the imperial city knew that they couldn't offend her, so they put her on a pedestal. When she reached marriageable age, the original owner didn't care about the young men who surrounded her and flattered her, and the emperor let her be. When Lin Junhuang Duanmuqi returned to Jing, the previous host took a liking to this Lin Junhuang. Duanmuqi was the stepson of the current emperor's younger sister. His father married into the princess residence, so Duanmuqi changed his surname to Duanmu. At that time, it was considered an honor. Duanmu was the royal surname. Other than the royal family, no one else was allowed to use it. It wasn't a big deal that the hosts liked Duanmuqi, since they weren't related by blood. Unfortunately, this was the male lead Darren. The male lead Darren is naturally a match for the female lead Darren. You cannon fodder actually dared to covet the male lead. Isn't this looking for abuse? The female lead, Yin Jinxiu, was Duanmuqi's arranged marriage from a young age. Duanmuqi had returned to the capital to dissolve this marriage. However, when Duanmuqi met the female lead, he realized that his fiancée was different from what he had imagined. Duanmuqi gradually fell in love with the female lead. When the male lead and female lead's relationship heated up, the cannon fodder, the original host, naturally jumped out to add oil to the fire. She originally wanted to make the male lead look at her in a different light, but in the end, the female lead benefited every time. In the end, even the emperor, who loved her dearly, was disappointed in her and married her off to another country. Not long after the original host married, she died of depression. The original host's last wish was a bit strange. She actually wanted to become the most noble woman in the world. Did she want to conquer the world? This wish was possible. It was very grand. Another wish was to destroy the country she married into. The original host didn't have a good time there. It could be said that she was abused. It was normal to have such a wish. The time she came over was a turning point for the original host to target the female lead. The Blessing Festival was a tradition of the Jin country. Every year at this time, the emperor would send the princes and princesses to Shangqing Temple to pray for the country. In the beginning, only the members of the royal family could go. Later, when the children of the ministers were selected, they could also go. If the children of the ministers were lucky enough to go, it was something worth bragging about in the court. So every year, many people fought over this quota. The original host wasn't married and was the eldest princess. On the female side, she was the leader every year. Who knew that Yin Jinxiu would also go this year? This matter was personally ordered by the emperor, and the original host had no choice but to object. Nothing happened on the way there. But when she came back, she met an assassin. The assassin seemed to come for the original host, the eldest princess, but in fact he came for the female lead. At the critical moment, the female lead said that she wanted to change clothes with the original host, and let the original host leave first. The original host thought that the female lead wanted to protect her, and was touched for a moment. She felt that the female lead wasn't as bad as she thought. But after the two changed clothes, the assassin still chased her and forced her carriage to the bottom of the cliff. The original host was found 3 days later. Her appearance was disfigured. Although it wasn't serious in the end, the original host fell ill. Her body was weak, and she needed to take medicine every day. However, during this incident, the female lead risked her life to find the eldest princess and receive the emperor's commendation. But at the last moment, the original host heard what the assassin said. They didn't come for her. Yin Jinxiu suddenly changed clothes with her. At this time, the original host thought that it was intentional. Because of this, the original host started to argue with the emperor, which laid the foundation for the original host's marriage. Shisheng sorted out the plot and looked up at the cliff. Was she waiting for someone to save her? Or should she go back on her own? Shisheng put her hands on her waist and thought. She should wait for someone to save her. As a princess, she should have the dignity of a princess. How could she climb back on her own? Shisheng took out a few useful things from the broken carriage and found a place to rest. She had to change places tomorrow to avoid being found by the female lead and let her complete her achievement. The temperature at the bottom of the cliff was much lower at night. Fortunately, she pulled out the quilt from the carriage and made do with it. The next day, Shisheng walked along a small stream at the bottom of the cliff. It was a deserted road. Shisheng walked and stopped. She felt a burning pain on her back. The wound must have split open. Shisheng rested on a rock beside her for a while. Suddenly, a voice came from the front. "Miss, why are we looking for the eldest princess? Don't we have the imperial guards?" "Who said I was looking for her?" This voice was cold and clear. It had a different charm. It was a bit different from the Yanjin Xiao in the original host's memory. Meeting the female lead? I have a date with the female lead. Shisheng carefully moved into the space between two rocks, using the rocks to block her figure. If we're not looking for the eldest princess, then why did we come down? This is the wilderness. What if we meet a wild beast? I'm here, what are you afraid of? But miss. All right, if you keep talking like this, I won't bring you next time. Yin Jinhua cut her off. The voice didn't dare refute. The footsteps passed by the rocks and gradually went away. Votes, votes, votes. Requesting monthly votes. Votes, votes, votes. Chapter 9:12. Shisheng came out from behind the rock and looked at the figure that was about to be drowned by the weeds. He thought for a moment and followed Yin Jinxiu. Yin Jinxiu seemed to be looking for something here. She walked and stopped, constantly changing her position. Shisheng used an invisibility talisman and swaggered behind her. From time to time he would make a sound. Yin Jinxiu's servant girl was always on guard. Yin Jinxiu was probably a little annoyed by the servant girl's state. "Xiaohe, can't you calm down?" "Miss, there's always a sound behind us." Xiaohe kept looking back, but there was nothing behind them. Yin Jinxiu also looked back. There were only traces of their footsteps. There was no one, and she didn't feel anyone's breath. It's inevitable that there are some small animals in the forest. Don't be so nervous. Relax. Yin Jinxiu comforted Xiaohe. Xiaohe nodded. Shisheng deliberately kicked the weeds next to him. The rustling sound immediately sounded in the forest. Miss, did you see it?" Xiaohe asked Yin Jinxiu with a pale face. Yin Jinxiu's expression froze. She stared at the weeds that had not stopped swaying. She drew a soft sword from her waist and walked over. Miss. Yin Jinxiu waved at her, motioning for her not to make a sound. She carefully walked to the weeds and used the soft sword to pull them apart. There was nothing but wet soil. The wind blew through the branches, and the sound of insects and birds was clear and pleasant. Yin Jinxiu looked around vigilantly. She glanced at the swaying weeds again and turned around. "Let's go. There's nothing here." Shisheng followed behind and made some noise from time to time. Yin Jinxiu was not sure if anyone was following her. Shisheng did not do too much. After a few times, he stopped making trouble and quietly followed behind her. Yin Jinxiu had a map in her hand. She found a cave according to the map, and this place, if she climbed over, would be the place where her carriage fell. "Wait for me outside." Yin Jinxiu put away the map and ordered Xiaohe. Xiaohe was a little scared. "Miss." She felt so scared here alone. Yin Jinxiu handed the soft sword to Xiaohe. "I'll be out soon." Shisheng followed Yin Jinxiu into the cave. Perhaps no one had entered the cave for many years. It was full of spider webs and some strange plants. Rats, ants, snakes, and insects could be seen from time to time. The cave had many twists and turns, and there were many branches. Yin Jinxiu stopped to check the map from time to time. After walking for half an hour, she finally entered a larger space. When Yin Jinxiu was checking the cave, she stepped on something. With a kacha sound, countless arrows were shot towards her. She rolled on the ground and stuck close to the corner of the cave, waiting for the arrow in the mechanism to finish shooting. Shisheng glanced around, picked up a few stones, and threw them at a few places that seemed to be booby traps. Suddenly, all the traps in the cave were triggered. All kinds of traps appeared. Yin Jinxiu's corner was not spared. It was too late for her to retreat. She could only rely on herself to dodge those traps. Shisheng leaned against the cave outside and watched the female protagonist show off her martial arts skills. This female lead, who appeared ordinary in front of everyone, was actually an expert. Even with so many mechanisms, she only received a few scratches. This was the so-called pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Yen Jinxiu was very confused. She didn't trigger so many traps just now. How could all the traps be activated at the same time? Finally, the traps stopped. Yen Jinxiu leaned against the rock in the corner and gasped for breath. After resting for a while, Yen Jinxiu walked to the middle of the cave. She groped on the ground and pulled out an iron chain. She looked happy and got up to pull the iron chain. Sheng felt a vibration under the ground. It was the sound of the iron chain and the gears rubbing against each other. As Yen Jinxiu pulled, the rock on the left suddenly began to move, revealing a larger space. The first thing she saw was the pile of gold in the middle. It was as high as a small hill. Yen Jinxiu released the iron chain and entered. She didn't look at the gold. Instead, she went straight to the mural behind the gold mountain. There were many people in different postures on the mural. There were also words beside them. This should be a set of swordsmanship and mental cultivation method. Did the female protagonist come here for this? Yen Jinxiu quickly looked at the mural. She probably remembered it in her heart. Then, she looked for something to destroy some key points. Sheng silently watched Yen Jinxiu's actions. After she destroyed the mural, she retreated and pulled the iron chain again. The rock moved and closed. Yen Jinxiu quickly left the cave. Sheng waited for a while. When Yen Jinxiu was almost out of the cave, he went to pull the iron chain. The wealth here was not limited to the gold mountain. The space was very big. There were all kinds of gold, silver, and jewelry. She didn't know who had looted here. Sheng put everything into the space and left the cave. Yen Jinxiu was no longer outside. She turned to the side and looked. Yen Jinxiu and Xiaohe were standing by the carriage's corpse. They were far away. Sheng didn't know what they were talking about. At this moment, the sound of fighting came from afar. A few figures shot out of the forest. There was a murderous aura. There was only one person being chased. If Sheng wasn't wrong, that person should be the male protagonist, Duanmuki. He was 1.8 meters tall, and wore a black brocade robe embroidered with dark patterns. It shone brightly as it swayed. He held a sharp sword in his hand. When he waved it, there seemed to be a tangible air current. It surged towards the person opposite him. He would definitely kill the person in one hit. He was like a killing god on the battlefield. Just one look was enough to make people tremble from the bottom of their hearts. He was indeed a domineering prince. Sheng found a place to sit down. He ate melon seeds and watched the male protagonist torture the assassins. Sheng thought that the male protagonist would be injured in the end and be saved by the female protagonist. But until the end, it was the male protagonist who tortured the group of assassins. So the male protagonist was just showing off his strength in front of the female protagonist? Miss Yen, why are you here? Duanmuki's sharp gaze swept towards Yen Jinxiu. Yen Jinxiu's expression now looked a little weak. Her face was pale, as if she had been frightened by what had just happened. Greetings, Royal Prince. The Princess Royal was assassinated and her carriage fell off the cliff. I split up with everyone to look for her. We found the Princess Royal's carriage here, but we couldn't find the Princess Royal. Duanmuki already knew about Yen Jinxiu's little tricks. He found it funny that she was pretending to be harmless in front of him. He said ambiguously, "Is that so?" Yen Jinxiu felt that she hated Duanmuki, because she felt that in front of Duanmuki, her disguise was useless. Yes. Yen Jinxiu lowered her head. Her long hair fell down and blocked her view. With the Imperial Guards here, why did Miss Yen come down personally? Duanmuki seemed to want to tear apart Yen Jinxiu's disguise. Yen Jinxiu cursed silently. She didn't dare to change her expression. The Princess Royal is missing. His Majesty will definitely be furious. How can the people accompanying her leave safely? Chapter 913. You're smart. Duanmuki sneered. Yen Jinxiu didn't know what he meant, and didn't dare to talk. She pursed her lips and didn't say anything. There was a strange silence. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of air being pierced rang out as countless arrows pierced through the forest and shot towards them. Yen Jinxiu instinctively wanted to use her martial arts, but she saw Duanmuki from the corner of her eyes. She paused and grabbed the scared Xiaohe and rolled towards the ground. A black-clothed assassin came out of the forest and attacked Duan Muqi. He looked like he wanted to kill Duan Muqi. Duan Muqi was alone, and there were people shooting at him from time to time. He was careless and got shot in the heart. The arrow might have been poisoned. Duan Muqi staggered and managed to block an assassin's attack. However, he couldn't block the attack of the assassin behind him. His back was slashed again. Shisheng couldn't bear to look at it. It was so tragic. Was the pretentious act from before so that he could be abused now? She didn't understand these people. They had just fought and didn't even know if there were any enemies behind them. How could they stand on the battlefield and talk about all kinds of injuries? Yan Jinxiu crawled on the ground and didn't make a move until Duan Muqi couldn't take it anymore. She said to Xiaohe, "When I move later, run, okay? Don't look behind you. Run as far as you can." "Miss, what about you?" "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Just protect yourself and don't drag me down." Yan Jinxiu spoke quickly. "Run." Xiaohe immediately got up and ran in the opposite direction. Yan Jinxiu got up at the same time and rushed into the group of assassins. She saved Duan Muqi and brought him into the forest. The assassins chased after her, and it quickly quieted down. Shisheng finished eating the last melon seed, and his eyes turned. If she followed them now, would she be able to kill the female lead? "Host, your mission isn't to kill the female lead. I can provide additional services for free. I don't want to talk. I want to be alone." King retarded host. As something seemed wrong. Shisheng didn't chase after Yan Jinxiu. He followed the path back and met the Imperial guards who were looking for her. "Greetings, Your Highness." Shisheng waved his hand and said weakly, "Bring me some food." The wound on his back was itchy and uncomfortable. Quick water." The leader of the Imperial Guards called out to the people behind him. After the Shisheng finished drinking and eating, the Imperial Guard asked the Shisheng carefully, "Your Highness, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" After falling from such a high place, His Highness looked as if nothing had happened, which surprised everyone. In their hearts, they had already prepared for the worst. If something happened to His Highness, only death awaited them when they returned. At this time, seeing that Shisheng was fine, these people slowly relaxed. No one was willing to die. "My back is injured. Get someone to treat it for me." Shisheng grimaced. "Yes." The Imperial Guards immediately sent someone to bring the Imperial physician down. They pulled down the curtains and treated Shisheng's wounds on the spot. After that, he organized people to send the Shisheng back to the Imperial Palace. The host's title was Chongning, which meant eternal happiness and tranquility. The palace she lived in was called Jingning Palace. It was warm in winter and cool in summer. Many princesses in the Imperial Palace coveted it. The moment Shisheng returned, she was surrounded by layers upon layers of people. The Imperial physicians sent by the Emperor were taking turns to treat her. This was the treatment of a supporting actress. There was nothing wrong with it. After the crowd dispersed, Shisheng had time to have a good rest. In the evening, the Emperor finished dealing with state affairs and took time to visit Shisheng. When the Emperor was young, he was also a handsome boy. Even when he was middle-aged, he was well-maintained and still handsome. No wonder so many people still wanted to enter the Imperial Palace. Chongning. The Emperor sat by the bed, his face full of distress. "How did you get hurt so badly?" The wound on her back was probably caused by a stab, but it wasn't too deep. It wasn't that serious. Of course, this wound wasn't serious in Shisheng's eyes, but in the eyes of the Emperor and other people, it was very serious. If you feel uncomfortable, you must tell the Imperial physicians in time. Seeing that Shisheng didn't speak, the Emperor thought he was frightened. "Don't be afraid, Chongning. I will get justice for you." Shisheng blinked and moved her dry lips. She asked directly, "How do you want me to get it back? Do you know who did it?" The Emperor choked. Before the people on the other side came to answer, those assassins were caught and committed suicide. No one knew who sent them. "Chongning." The Emperor patted Shisheng's shoulder. "Take care of yourself. I will take care of other things." Shisheng twitched the corners of his mouth. With his pale lips, he looked like a sick beauty. The host was beautiful. She was the kind of beauty that would amaze people at first sight. In fact, this kind of person would only amaze people at first sight. Later, people would feel tired of her beauty and wouldn't have the same feeling as the first time. The emperor said a few words and left Jingning Palace, saying he had something to deal with. Sheng had been recuperating for more than half a month. Although she ate all kinds of good food, her wound didn't heal quickly. Your Highness, please slow down. A maid came forward to support Sheng, for fear that she would fall. Sheng wanted to say that she wasn't so weak. This palace maid was recently transferred over. The palace maid who previously served the original owner had lost her life in the assassination attempt. The one who served her now was called Xiaoxian. She was a clever girl who knew how to read people's faces and knew what to say and what not to say. Sheng sat in the taffy chair by the window. Is there any progress in the previous case? Xiaoxian crossed her hands in front of her and answered with her head down. His Majesty sent someone to say that there was no progress. The assassins were all caught and killed. They didn't have anything to identify their identities, so it's hard to investigate. Sheng took a sip of tea. So you can't find anything? Who tried to assassinate the female lead? The plot didn't mention the details, so Sheng didn't know who wanted to kill the female lead. Xiaoxian didn't dare to answer. She didn't dare to answer casually. Is Yan Jinxiu back? Sheng put down the teacup. The bottom of the teacup hit the table, making a crisp sound. Xiaoxian had heard that His Highness and Yan Jinxiu didn't get along very well. She suddenly asked about Yan Jinxiu. Xiaoxian hesitated for a moment before answering. Miss Yan was seriously injured when she was found. She just woke up 3 days ago. Yes. What else? Xiaoxian's heart skipped a beat. She glanced at Sheng from the corner of her eye, but she couldn't see the expression on Sheng's face, because she was standing behind him. Your Majesty, Xiaoxian said hesitantly. Your Majesty said that Miss Yan's courage was commendable. He sent something to the Yan mansion as a consolation. Sheng's fingertips slid across his chin. Understanding flashed across his eyes. She didn't change much. The plot was still developing. ## today's yogurt-flavored ticket #. Chapter 9:14. The early spring in the capital was still a little cold. As the spring breeze blew, new buds appeared on the branches. The bleak capital was beginning to be wrapped in greenery. Sheng walked on the street and passed through the crowd. His gaze casually swept across the stalls around him. Occasionally, he would stop to buy some snacks that he had never seen before. She had sneaked out of the palace without bringing anyone with her. Sheng walked around the street and slowly wandered to the Minister of Revenue's residence. There were people guarding the door. Sheng went around to the back and climbed over the wall to enter. The Minister of Revenue's residence was quite large, but other than this residence, everything else was very ordinary. It did not look like a high-ranking official of the imperial court at all. Sheng crept to the vicinity of the study from the periphery. There seemed to be someone in the study. As soon as Sheng approached, he heard someone speak. Sir, the Ministry of War has been asking us for provisions. It has far exceeded the budget. How should we reply? Sheng crept to the window and looked inside through the gap. A man sat in front of the desk with a booklet in his hand. Another person was standing. The person who had spoken just now was the one who was standing. The man sitting was the Minister of Revenue, Song Hung. Duanfeng has gone too far. Song Hung directly threw the booklet in his hand on the table with a crisp paw sound. He said angrily, "Does he really think that the Duan family dares to be so arrogant just because they have a favored consort Shu? Sir, please lower your voice." The person reminded Song Hung. "Do I have to lower my voice in my own house?" Song Hung appeared even angrier. The person wiped his cold sweat. Sir Duan is the Minister of War. His Majesty is biased towards him. Our Ministry of Revenue's work has always been in a dilemma. If we can endure it, we should endure it. Song Hung pointed at the booklet and jabbed it twice. How can I endure it? Duanfeng is insatiable. Does he think that the Ministry of Revenue is his? Sir Duan has gone too far, but their reason for asking for provisions is very legitimate. His Majesty ignored all the booklets he handed over. At this point, Song Hung became even angrier. He cursed 18 generations of Duan Feng's ancestors. The subordinate's face was full of nervousness. He was afraid that the spies planted in the residence would hear him, and constantly reminded Song Hung to lower his voice. Shisheng leaned against the window and watched Song Hung stomp his feet in anger. This Minister of Revenue was said to be a very upright person. The Minister of Revenue was a very promising position, but this Minister of Revenue had never used his position for personal gain. As for that Duan Feng, his younger sister was the most favored imperial concubine Shu in recent years, and his status had also risen along with her. However, Duan Feng was not someone who would stop while he was ahead. This kind of person would be destroyed sooner or later. Shisheng slipped into Song Heng's backyard and piled up all the gold, silver, and jewelry she had taken from the cave on the ground. Fortunately, Song Heng's backyard was big enough. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to fit all of them. Song Hung was still cursing in the study when a servant suddenly came to report that there were a few piles of property in the backyard. Song Hung was confused, but he only thought of a small pile of gold. When he saw the small mountain of gold, he was dumbfounded. A group of servants were also dumbfounded. Where did these things come from? It took Song Hung a while to find his voice. Not only were there gold, but there were also gold, silver, and jewelry. The servant who discovered it first stood up and answered, "Sir, these things were already here when I came here." No one saw how these things appeared. But this was even more strange. How could so many things appear here in such a short period of time without a sound? Song Heng's heart was beating like thunder. He paced around the piles of things and said after a while, "Go and call everyone here." Everyone. However, no one in the residence saw how these things appeared. Song Hung hurriedly called someone to report to the palace. This kind of thing should be left to the higher-ups. Shisheng left the minister's residence and went to a few martial arts centers to give the slightly distorted paintings she had drawn. Some people did not know the value of the paintings, but some people knew. With just a glance, they seemed to recognize what it was. They looked at Shisheng nervously. "Miss, this is yours. I'll give it to you for free." Shisheng waved his hand generously. Give it to him? What did this little girl want to do? If a stranger suddenly wanted to give you something, and it was something so priceless, anyone would be flustered. "Do you know what this is?" the man asked carefully. "No." Shisheng blinked. "Isn't it just a few martial arts moves? Your martial arts center should need it." "No." Thinking about it, if she knew what it was, she would not have taken it out like this. The man looked at Shisheng's indifferent expression. His lips moved, but in the end he did not say anything. Shisheng smiled and left the martial arts center. When the man found out that everyone in the martial arts center had a copy, his expression would be very interesting. This was a set of swordsmanship. It was said that if one practiced it to the highest level, he could summon the wind and rain. Of course, Shisheng felt that this was an exaggeration. If one could summon the wind and rain, it would be a fantasy world. Everyone was familiar with the first half of the swordsmanship. No one knew the second half. The first half was not even comparable to ordinary swordsmanship. Only when combined with the second half could the swordsmanship be maximized. The second half had been lost. Countless people in the martial arts world had been looking for it, but no one had found it. After finishing all this, Shisheng leisurely found a place to eat. In order to prevent the female lead from causing trouble, he deliberately chose a private room. It turned out that she was very prescient. Halfway through the meal, she heard a commotion outside. Shisheng calmly finished his meal. It had been a long time, but the commotion outside was still going on. She got up and opened the door. Several people were standing in the private room next door. Yin Jinxiu was surrounded in the middle. Several beautifully dressed girls were mocking and ridiculing her. Yin Jinxiu lowered her head, blocking the emotions on her face. "Yin Jinxiu, are you going or not?" a girl asked with a smile. "She doesn't have the guts to go. What if she embarrasses herself?" The girls were talking at once. Shisheng could tell from their words that these people were probably trying to instigate Yin Jinxiu to go somewhere. If the female lead acted like she did not want to go, and then she was forced to go, these little bitches would definitely slap her in the face. This was a very common trope in novels. Sure enough, it was similar to what Shisheng had expected. Yan Jinxiu made a few excuses, and the group of girls became more enthusiastic. Yan Jinxiu pretended to be irritated and agreed to their demands. Then we'll wait for you. Don't be a coward when the time comes. Let's go, let's go. The girls called out to her and left downstairs. When their figures disappeared down the stairs, Yan Jinxiu's angry eyes immediately calmed down. She expressionlessly watched them leave the hall downstairs. Yan Jinxiu stood for a moment, turned around and met Shisheng's gaze without warning. Yan Jinxiu was stunned for a moment. She quickly restrained her emotions and bowed slightly. Greetings, Your Royal Highness. Why was she here? Chapter 9:15. Shisheng didn't ask her to get up, and Yan Jinxiu didn't dare to get up. She could only maintain her posture. The hustle and bustle in the hall seemed to be cut off at this moment. The entire corridor was silent, and there was a strange flow of air. Yan Jinxiu's heart beat faster and faster. She carefully raised her head to look at the person opposite her, and accidentally met her gaze. Yan Jinxiu's calmness was fake. There were many emotions in her eyes, but the person opposite her wasn't. She looked at her as if she was looking at a dead object. In her eyes, she was nothing. It wasn't contempt or disdain. She didn't even have her in her eyes. Yan Jinxiu took a deep breath. Your Highness Princess Royal? She didn't say anything. What did she mean? Just as Yan Jinxiu was puzzled, the door to the private room beside her was suddenly pulled open. A man dressed as a guard came out. When the guard saw Yan Jinxiu outside, he called out in surprise, Miss Yan? Yan Jinxiu raised her head slightly and nodded politely. Then she lowered her head again. The guard saw Yan Jinxiu like this and looked toward Shisheng. His pupils constricted and he quickly bowed. Greetings to Your Highness Princess Royal. Behind the guard, there was a flash of light. Duanmuqi slowly came out. His handsome face was scrutinizing. He frowned and asked, Why is Princess here? Shisheng, who had been silent all this time, sneered. What does it have to do with you where I am? Why did these people like to poke their nose into other people's business? The first thing they asked was why she was here. You're not Ai's ancestor. What right do you have to poke your nose into this? Duanmuqi felt strange. His gaze changed and he said in a distant tone, Princess has a noble status. It's not appropriate for you to be here alone. Shisheng said seriously. Oh, then how many people do you need to follow the rules? Duanmuqi. What he meant was that as a princess, how could she casually show her face in public? Miss Yan, what are you doing? Duanmuqi shifted his gaze to Yan Jinxiu. Yan Jinxiu bowed in Duanmuqi's direction. Greetings to Your Highness. She didn't explain and continued to maintain her posture. Sometimes not explaining was even more misleading. Princess, how did Miss Yan offend you? Duanmuqi looked at Shisheng again with an unfriendly gaze. There are so many. Her grudges with the female lead Darren could be written into a romance novel worth $1 million. Duanmuqi frowned. Princess, you should pay attention to your status in public. Are you lecturing me? Shisheng raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled. Duanmuqi had already been pestered by the previous owner, and knew that the previous owner liked him. So Duanmuqi didn't follow any rules in front of the previous owner. Duanmuqi felt a chill in his heart. The person in front of him was clearly smiling, but her smile did not reach her eyes. There was only a bottomless calmness in her eyes. Falling head first into the abyss was like falling into a deep abyss, unable to find a way out. He could only be trapped inside until he died. Duanmuqi suppressed this strange feeling. I wouldn't dare. He said he wouldn't dare, but his arrogance was much higher than Shisheng's. He didn't look like he didn't dare at all. I didn't know that Your Highness doesn't need to bow when you see me. Shisheng put one hand on his waist. What? Does Your Highness want to rebel? Duanmuqi's eyebrows jumped and he scolded in dissatisfaction. Princess, you can't speak nonsense. This Duanmu Zhangning. Why did he change so much from before? When did she put on airs when she saw him in the past? Could it be that his brain was damaged the last time? Shisheng raised his voice. Since you don't want to rebel, then what do you mean by not bowing when you see me? Are you looking down on me? F*** King retarded male lead. I can't deal with you. Duanmuqi's frown deepened, and his eyes showed obvious disgust toward Shisheng. Princess is visiting incognito. If I bow, wouldn't I expose Princess? Duanmuqi quickly found an excuse to say that he didn't bow, because he was thinking of her. Shisheng's eyes curved and his smile deepened. It's okay, I don't mind. Hurry up and bow. Duanmuqi. What was wrong with her? Princess, Shisheng interrupted Duanmuqi. Rebel. His tone sounded as if he couldn't wait for him to rebel. The disgust in Duanmuqi's eyes deepened. He froze for a moment, then clenched his fists and bowed. Greetings to your highness. Without waiting for Shisheng to speak, Duanmuqi straightened his body. Did your highness leave the palace without permission? This prince will send someone to send your highness back. Duanmuqi obviously wasn't asking for Shisheng's opinion when he said the last sentence. Your highness, who gave you the guts to meddle in my affairs? King retarded male lead. He actually wanted to bring her to complain. Sinister. If Duanmuqi sent her back, the emperor would definitely know that she had sneaked out of the palace. Sneaking out of the palace wasn't a small matter. Even if the emperor still doted on her, he would definitely punish her symbolically as a warning to others. This Baobao saw through the truth. This Baobao wouldn't fall for it. This prince is worried about your highness' safety. The outside world can't be compared to the palace. There is no one to serve your highness. This prince will send someone to send your highness back. Duanmuqi waved his hand behind him, and someone immediately came forward. Your highness, please return to the palace. Shisheng looked at Duanmuqi with a half-smile. If I don't go back, will you tie me up and bring me back? For your highness' safety, your highness will not blame me. Duanmuqi's voice was slightly cold. Send your highness back to the palace. Who dares? Shisheng's aura intensified as he calmly glanced at the guards beside him. The guards were probably intimidated by Shisheng's aura, and didn't dare to step forward. They could only look at their master to ask for his opinion. Duanmuqi's expression was cold, and his voice was even colder. Who can take responsibility if something happens to your highness? Send your highness back to the palace. The guards looked at each other, and immediately stepped forward to take Shisheng away. Shisheng wasn't willing. He kicked one of the guards in the stomach, and quickly pulled out his sword with his other hand. He pointed the tip of the sword at the other guard's chest and said calmly, If you don't want to live, then try to touch me. Even through the cloth, the guards could feel the chill. It was as if someone had placed a block of ice in his chest. With his chest as the center, the chill quickly spread to his entire body. The sound of blood freezing could be heard clearly. The bodyguard froze, not daring to move. He couldn't move at all. The mirror-like blade pulled at his frightened face, until it was slightly distorted. The iron sword didn't hide its sharpness at all. The moment it appeared, it gave off a terrifying aura. Even an ignorant person would know that this sword was a good item. Yin Jinxiu had unknowingly moved to the side. When the iron sword appeared, she glanced at Shisheng. When her gaze met the iron sword, an unknown light flashed across her eyes. She quickly lowered her eyes and shrank into a corner, trying to be a backdrop. Duanmuqi sized up the iron sword with a burning gaze. He didn't even see where she had taken the sword from. She also didn't have anywhere to hide it. The original owner was called Duanmu Chongning was a titled warrior, so he could also be called Duanmu Chongning. Chapter 9:16. Shisheng kicked the guard away and walked towards Duanmuqi with his sword. He stopped a meter away from him and grinned. His face was filled with malice. Duanmuqi felt the unfriendly aura coming from Shisheng, and instinctively became alert. But even so, he didn't expect Shisheng to directly attack him. The sharp iron sword cut through the air, carrying a strong pressure as it slashed towards his head. Duanmuqi's body reacted faster than his brain. When he dodged Shisheng's attack, his brain finally reacted. This woman actually dared to attack him? The second slash made Duanmuqi understand that she was indeed attacking him. Princess, what do you want to do? Duanmuqi dodged Shisheng's iron sword again. The iron sword brushed past him and only cut off a corner of his clothes. Tisk. This was the male lead's halo. He couldn't even hit him like this. Shisheng's eyes turned. He raised the iron sword again. She used a fake move and Duan Muqi didn't dodge. The iron sword cut a hole in his chest, revealing a large patch of skin. Blood slowly seeped onto the surface of his skin. Duan Muqi's face darkened. He used his wide sleeves to cover his exposed chest to prevent it from being exposed. The original owner had learned some martial arts and her body was quite strong. Shisheng took advantage of Duan Muqi's distraction to beat him up. Shisheng also wanted to directly kill Duan Muqi, but she found that there was a lot of resistance. Duan Muqi's male lead halo hadn't weakened yet. If she forcefully killed him, it would be a bit of a loss. She would just beat him up to vent her anger. After beating up the male lead, Shisheng clapped her hands and stood up. She pulled at her messy clothes and arrogantly left. Yan Jinxiu was stunned the entire time. When did this eldest princess become so strange? Didn't she like Duan Muqi so much before? Yan Jinxiu wasn't the only one who didn't understand. Even the person who was beaten up was stunned. She was actually so ruthless and only hit his face. Duan Muqi had lost so much face, and was in no mood to flirt with girls. He quickly left under the escort of a few guards. Returning to the Junwang Fu, Duan Muqi flipped the table the moment he entered. The servants around him didn't even dare to breathe loudly. How could His Highness be beaten up like a pig's head when he went out? No. There was actually someone who dared to beat up the prince. Was he tired of living? The steward ran in from outside, and waved his hand to chase the others away. He carefully stood behind Duan Muqi. Prince, shall we apply the medicine first? Duan Muqi's breathing had more or less calmed down. He sat to the side, and let someone apply medicine to his face. Your Highness, who has the guts to beat you up, and even hit your face? Duan Muqi grabbed the edge of the table, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. His eyes were fierce as he squeezed out a name from between his teeth. Duan Muzhangning. The housekeeper was shocked. Wasn't this the eldest princess? How could Her Highness the eldest princess? Many people knew that she had taken a liking to his prince. How could she beat his prince so ruthlessly? Could it be that hate was born from love? Duan Muqi didn't understand what had happened. A person who liked him so much before suddenly wanted to chop him with a sword. What happened in between? How is Duan Muzhangning's martial arts? Duan Muqi suddenly asked the housekeeper. The housekeeper refused to let his prince call the eldest princess by her name. If someone heard this, it would be disrespectful. Her Highness the eldest princess only learned a few self-defense moves. That's right, with his prince's martial arts. How could he be beaten up like this by the eldest princess? Did the eldest princess bring people? Duan Muqi had seen that Duan Muzhangning didn't seem like someone who practiced martial arts. Then for him to be beaten up by her today, it was most likely because of that sword. That sword. Bring me a brush and ink. The housekeeper stopped his imagination, and went to the side to bring over the brush and ink. Duan Muqi drew the iron sword on paper, and gave it to the housekeeper. Send someone to investigate what kind of weapon this is. The housekeeper took a look, and saw that it was a very normal iron sword. The body of the sword was delicate and straight down without any markings. This kind of sword could be casually made in a blacksmith shop outside. How to investigate this kind of sword? His Highness wouldn't be angry and tease him, right? The housekeeper carefully looked at Duan Muqi. Seeing that Duan Muqi was about to kill someone, he tactfully shut up and took the things out to order people to investigate. The matter of Shisheng beating up Duan Muqi was still known by the emperor. As soon as she returned, she was called to Yangxin Palace Hall. Yangxin Palace Hall was magnificent. The palace maids stood quietly on both sides with their heads down. Countless candles lit up the entire hall. The emperor sat on the dragon throne with a solemn face. The bright yellow dragon robe seemed a little dim. The atmosphere was oppressive and heavy. Shisheng stood at the bottom of the stairs. She was rather respectful, unlike her arrogant self outside. Zhangning, do you know your mistake? The candles in the hall flickered at the same time. The light dimmed a little, as if they were frightened by the person who spoke. I didn't do anything wrong. Shisheng raised his head and said righteously. He was disrespectful to me first. It was right for me to teach him a lesson. The emperor frowned. Disrespectful to you? How was he disrespectful to you? He didn't even greet me when he saw me. If that isn't disrespectful, then what is? Shisheng pursed his lips. Duan Muqi is looking down on the imperial family, the law, and imperial father. Shisheng didn't hesitate to accuse Duan Muqi. He immediately raised the level of the problem by several levels. Duan Muqi was just a Junwang who had no blood relations with the Duanmu family. He didn't even greet the princess of the imperial family when he saw her. Wasn't this looking down on the imperial family? If we can face them head-on, we will face them head-on. If we can't, we will use a roundabout way to save the country. The host is making up nonsense again. This is pure nonsense. Please don't imitate it. The emperor pondered for a moment. But you shouldn't have hit him in front of so many people. As a princess, you represent the imperial family. No matter what, Duan Muqi had a title. Although the blood of the Duanmu family did not flow in his body, his late mother's family was not to be underestimated. I can't help it. Who asked the male lead to be so annoying that he had to ask for a beating? The emperor waved his hand and motioned for the others to leave. When only the two of them were left in the hall, the emperor said, "You are a princess. Many people will go through water and tread on fire for you. You can find a secluded place to teach him a lesson." Shisheng. Waiting for a sack? What was the emperor talking about? Ahem. The emperor coughed. Chongning, don't be so impulsive in the future. There are many ways to solve problems. You have to do it without anyone knowing. Do you understand? Shisheng felt that the emperor was telling him how to do bad things. Was he her biological father? Most likely not. After all, later on, this biological father abandoned the original host and married her to another country. Imperial father will not pursue this matter. But you have to be punished for leaving the palace without permission. The emperor changed the topic. Go back and copy the Buddhist scriptures twice. You are not allowed to leave Jingning Hall before you finish. Shisheng didn't refute. Twice wasn't too much. Chapter 9:17. When Shisheng saw the thickness of the Buddhist scriptures, she realized that she had been too naive. The Buddhist scriptures in this dynasty were frighteningly thick. She would die if she copied it twice, right? As expected, he wasn't her biological father. Bad. Shisheng looked at the Buddhist scriptures helplessly. The palace maid Xiao Xian stood beside her and started grinding. Your Highness, it's done. Xiao Xian watched as Shisheng picked up the brush, dipped it in ink, and started writing. Her movements were smooth and fluid. There was nothing wrong with it. But why couldn't she understand what she was writing? When she was tidying up the study, she had seen His Highness's handwriting. It was completely different from this. Was His Highness practicing new calligraphy? That must be it. Xiao Xian tried to convince herself, but the more she read, the more she felt that something was wrong. It was too strange. Slap. Xiao Xian was startled by the sound. She quickly looked at Shisheng. Your Highness. Shisheng stood up and gestured with his chin. You write. I don't know how to write. Damn it. This servant. Xiao Xian pointed at herself in surprise. Seeing Shisheng nod seriously, Xiao Xian's mouth twitched. But this servant's handwriting is different from your Highness. Whatever. In any case, her handwriting was different from the original owner's. Xiao Xian opened her mouth, but finally bowed slightly. Yes. How could they refuse their master's orders? Even if His Majesty wanted to pursue the matter, they could only accept it. After Xiao Xian finished copying the Buddhist scriptures, and Shisheng sent her to Yangxin Palace Hall, she had been feeling uneasy. But after a few days, nothing happened. The people outside had also left. Did this mean that everything was fine? Your Highness, didn't His Majesty notice? Xiao Xian asked boldly. Her handwriting was very different from His Highness. He noticed. Anyone who wasn't blind would be able to tell that the two handwriting were completely different. Then what? Nothing happened at all? Shisheng tilted his head and looked at her, his voice light. It's just a formality. Do you really think Imperial Father wants to punish me? I'm not the female lead. If I can't finish copying, I won't be given food. His Majesty punishing her was just a show for the rest of the harem. As for how she finished copying, His Majesty wouldn't interfere as long as she didn't go overboard. Little Xian. I don't really understand how you nobles play. A palace maid hurried over from afar and curtsied to the Shisheng. Your Highness, the fourth princess requests to see you. Which fourth princess? Shisheng asked subconsciously. The palace maid. How many fourth princesses were there in the palace? Your Highness, are you forgetful? Shisheng's mind turned and a figure appeared in his mind. The fourth princess, Duanmu Xian. She was a princess who was close to the original owner. Her mother was one of the 4 imperial concubines, concubinda. Concubinda was one of the earliest concubines to enter the palace, but because she didn't give birth to a prince, she wasn't favored. Concubinda was afraid that her position would be threatened, so she told Duanmu Xian to have a good relationship with the original host. Everyone in the palace knew that the original owner was favored, so the emperor would naturally take care of the people around her. Concubinda's plan was obviously useful. Since Duanmu Xian received the recognition of the original owner, as long as the original owner had something, the emperor would also give it to her. Of course, the things were definitely different from the original owners, but it was enough to make those who wanted to replace concubine to think twice. Duanmu Xian didn't have much sincerity towards the original owner. She only played with the original owner for the sake of benefits. I won't see her. Shisheng waved his hand. What a mess. They would definitely cause trouble when they meet. I just want to be a princess in peace. I'll eat melon seeds and watch the drama, while tearing apart the couple. Sister Chongning. As soon as Shisheng's voice fell, a light pink figure ran over from afar, calling her sweetly. Shisheng. Damn, who let her in? Sister Chongning. Duanmu Xian ran in, panting with her small mouth open. Her face was red and her voice was so sweet that it made people's hearts melt. Sister Chongning, I'm sorry. A few days ago, Concubinda and I went out of the palace to visit relatives and didn't come to see you in time. When we came back, we found out that something big had happened to you. Shisheng responded indifferently. Oh. Why didn't I hear any concern in his voice? Duanmu Xian was stunned and looked worried. Sister Chongning, are you not happy? I'll be happy if you leave. I don't want to cause trouble with passers-by. Sister Chongning? Duanmu Xian seemed to be frightened. Her small face suddenly changed and she looked at Shisheng pitifully. What did I do wrong? I came to see you as soon as I came back and brought you delicious food. Duanmu Xian turned around and took the food box from the maid behind her. She went forward and put it on the small table beside Shisheng. Sister Chongning, these are delicious. I brought them back especially for you. Okay, you can go. Shisheng took the food and waved to Duanmu Xian. Duanmu Xian frowned slightly. There was some dissatisfaction in her eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. She felt wronged. Sister Chongning is in a bad mood. I'll come another day. She stood up and walked a few steps. Then she seemed to think of something and turned back. By the way, Sister Chongning, shall we go to the flower appreciation banquet together in a few days? It's a deal. I'll come to see you then. Duanmu Xian was afraid that Shisheng would refuse, so she left quickly with her people. What flower appreciation banquet? Shisheng turned and asked Xiaoxian. Why did His Highness seem to have lost his memory? Xiaoxian felt strange, but she didn't dare to show it on her face. The flower appreciation banquet was started a few years ago at the New Moon Lake outside the palace. Every year at this time, there will be a large number of peonies blooming around the New Moon Lake. In the beginning, the banquet hadn't taken shape yet. It was just a group of young ladies going to the New Moon Lake to swim around and appreciate the flowers. Later, a fancy restaurant opened next to the New Moon Lake, and it hosted the flower appreciation banquet. Those who could attend the flower appreciation banquet were all young ladies and gentlemen with high social status. So more people wanted to show off at the flower appreciation banquet. It wasn't a blind date. This program was more like a competition. In the end, the restaurant would select the most talented woman in the capital according to the comprehensive results. This event could increase the fame of the woman and bring benefits to the family. Those families naturally acquiesced in it. So now, it was a great honor to be called the most talented woman at the Flower Appreciation Banquet. It was an outstanding success for a folk event to be so popular with the young ladies of official families. Your Highness, are you going to attend the banquet? Xiao Xian asked seriously after explaining. If His Highness was going to attend, they had to start preparing. Shisheng tilted his head and thought. The girls he met last time should be talking about this. Since the female lead was going, of course he had to go and watch the show. After Duanmu Xian said that, someone sent an official invitation to Shisheng, inviting him to be the judge of this flower appreciation banquet. Asking the eldest princess to perform, no one would have the guts to do so. The name of the invitation was Juxian Restaurant. For a restaurant to be able to reach into the imperial palace, it was quite impressive. Chapter 9:18. On the day of the flower viewing banquet, the entire crescent lake was surrounded by peonies. The fragrance of flowers filled the air and butterflies danced in the air. There was a large pleasure boat in the center of the lake. Light gauze hung down, and the sound of musical instruments could be heard. Small boats were constantly sending people up. Strange, why is this year's flower viewing banquet held on the lake? I don't know, but the scenery on the lake should be good. It's the same everywhere. Come, let's go up. The two girls walked past Shisheng with their maids. When most of the people had gone up, Shisheng went up alone. She didn't bring anyone because she had told Xiao Xian that she wouldn't go. She had sneaked out of the palace. What's the point of bringing that group of people along with her only to drag her down? As for that fourth princess, Shisheng had long forgotten about her. After Shisheng went up, he was led to the front. Some people probably recognized him and bowed to him. There were already two people sitting in front of him. One was an old man, and the other was a beautiful woman. Your Highness, eldest princess. When the old man saw Shisheng, he immediately stood up and bowed to Shisheng. His attitude was calm, not too respectful, but not too perfunctory either. Imperial Tutorchi. Shisheng nodded slightly. This old man had taught the original owner for a while. Other than being a little naggy, he was good. Your Highness came alone? Yes. Imperial Tutorchi frowned, and began to lecture him. How can you come alone? Who will guarantee your safety? Shisheng was already a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Then I'm already here. Do you want me to go back and bring more people here? Imperial Tutorchi was speechless. He shook his head slightly. Your Highness, please. Imperial Tutorchi nagged, but he wasn't stubborn. Shisheng glanced at the woman sitting still. This woman had a strong Jianghu aura. She should be from the Jianghu. Since she was invited here, she should be a famous person in the Jianghu. Shisheng calmly looked away and sat next to Imperial Tutorchi. After she sat down, the woman secretly looked at her. This eldest princess seemed a little different from the one she knew. Your Highness, why didn't you bring anyone out? Grand Tutorchi sat down and didn't stop nagging. Shisheng rested his chin on his hand and replied. Too annoying. You are the princess of a country. How can you travel without an attendant? Grand Tutorchi disagreed. Shisheng glanced at Grand Tutorchi. You're annoying too. Grand Tutorchi. Choked by the Shisheng, Grand Tutorchi finally stopped talking. Shisheng's early arrival was obviously beyond the expectations of the manager of the Juxian Pavilion. He hurried over and expressed his sincere apologies to Shisheng and Grand Tutorchi. Shisheng found him annoying and sent him away with a few words. When the flower-admiring banquet was about to start, Shisheng saw that Yan Jinxiu had arrived late. She didn't look well, and seemed to have a lot on her mind. She really came. This is going to be a good show. Today, we must teach her a good lesson. Let's see how she will meet people in the future. Are you ready? The few girls who invited Yan Jinxiu happened to be sitting behind Shisheng. Their whispers fell into Shisheng's ears without reservation. Shisheng rested his chin on his hand and slightly leaned his body to one side. He didn't look like a princess at all. Seeing this, Grand Tutorchi wanted to teach him a lesson. The woman next to them also heard the words of these girls. A trace of disdain flashed through her face very quickly. Shisheng glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. It was so fast that the woman didn't notice it. Young masters and young misses, thank you for coming to this year's flower-admiring banquet. The manager of the Jushin Pavilion stood on the stage prepared in advance and began to give an opening speech. Then this year's rules will be the same as last year. The eldest princess, Old Chi, and Red Lady will jointly give a score. The one with the highest score will be awarded the title of the most talented woman this year. Who is she? Why should she be the judge? Someone questioned Red Lady. None of them had seen this woman before. Forget about the eldest princess and Old Chi. Everyone basically knew these two people. However, they had never heard of a strange woman before. How could they accept her? If Miss Lin has an opinion, you don't have to participate. The manager's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing, but it was also very firm. The complexion of Miss Lin slightly changed. She stomped her feet and angrily sat back on her seat. Everyone in the capital knew that the Jushin Pavilion had a background. When it was just opened, someone caused trouble and went to the yamen. The yamen made the troublemaker apologize to the Jushin Pavilion. Since they couldn't afford to provoke them, smart people naturally wouldn't provoke them. No one raised any questions. The event officially began. This competition wasn't for these young misses to show their best skills. Instead, they had to show off their skills in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. In order to save time, 3 people would compete at the same time. One person would be left behind, and the other 2 would be eliminated. In the end, the remaining people would compete again until the winner was selected. Shisheng watched these people's performances in boredom. In any case, they were all the same. There was nothing interesting to see. Red Lady also seemed to be a little absent-minded. He reckoned that only Grand Tutor Chi was serious. It wasn't until Yan Jinxiu came to the stage that Shisheng became a little more spirited. Yan Jinxiu had noticed Shisheng before. Now that she was face to face with her, Yan Jinxiu didn't know why she felt a little uncomfortable. The expression in her eyes, it made her feel very uncomfortable. She didn't have a sense of superiority. Instead, she had a kind of confidence and unbridled arrogance that came from her bones. She was different from the previous eldest princess. Yan Jinxiu retracted her gaze. She looked weak and easy to bully. She lowered her head to reduce her sense of existence. Start. After confirming that everyone was ready, the manager shouted, "Start." Yan Jinxiu definitely knew these things. However, Shisheng found that Yan Jinxiu didn't use her full strength at all. She just perfunctorily dealt with it. When it was time to give the score, Shisheng gave a rare high score. The manager looked at Shisheng's and Red Lady's scores, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Miss Yin wins this round. Yan Jinxiu, who was originally lowering her head, suddenly raised it. Of course, she knew what she was doing. How could she win like this? What kind of joke was this? The girl next to her was also unconvinced. She was Miss Lin who questioned Red Lady just now. How could it be Yan Jinxiu? Did you do it on purpose? Miss Lin didn't dare to point her finger at Shisheng. She could only question Red Lady. Although your zither skills are good, it's too empty and emotionless. Red Lady rattled off Miss Lin's shortcomings. Miss Lin was angry at the beginning, but later, she became angry from embarrassment. She wasn't as bad as Red Lady said. She was deliberately finding fault with her. I don't accept it. Miss Lin looked at Grand Tutor Chi. Grandpa Chi, help me say something. She did it on purpose. This is shady. Grand Tutor Chi. Shisheng was looking at him with a smile. He didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but he always felt that if he helped that girl, this eldest princess would tear him apart on the spot. Grand Tutor Chi was not blind. He had lived for more than half of his life. How could he not see that Yan Jinxiu was hiding her strength? Therefore, in the end he remained silent. Although Yan Jinxiu didn't show her true strength, it wasn't considered cheating. Asterisk hashtag today's Pepsi votes hashtag monthly votes hashtag. Chapter 919. That young Miss Lin caused quite a ruckus, and was finally asked off the boat by the gathering Immortal Pavilion. Yan Jinxiu strangely entered the last round of the competition. The last round was a dance competition. Everyone had to perform a dance. Yan Jinxiu never thought that she would enter the last round, so she naturally didn't prepare any clothes. Young Miss Yan, we have prepared clothes. Please come over here to change. Someone from the gathering Immortal Pavilion suddenly walked to Yan Jinxiu's side. The people participating in the last round were all led to the back of the boat. Yan Jinxiu finally stood up and followed them to change. Sheng had always given low scores. The participating young misses didn't dare to complain. Who told her to be the eldest princess? They couldn't afford to offend her. When Yan Jinxiu came out, she was wearing a light dance dress. The color was quite bright and matched her appearance perfectly. She was beautiful and alluring. Yan Jinxiu bent slightly, and the sound of the zither faintly sounded. Her figure danced with the sound of the zither. Her dance was beautiful, and it was like she was riding the wind. Many of the young masters below were stunned. Yan Jinxiu's reputation in the circle wasn't very big. She was like an invisible person. Other than the few that often caused trouble for her, many people didn't even remember this young Miss Yan. Yan Jinxiu's performance today would probably spread throughout the circle. Rip! Just as everyone was in a daze, the sound of clothes tearing suddenly sounded and woke everyone up. Yan Jinxiu covered her waist in embarrassment. Her delicate skin could be vaguely seen. There was an uproar below. There were even some young masters with bad intentions who whistled. Yan Jinxiu's face was completely red. It was unknown if it was from anger or embarrassment. At this time, a figure stepped on everyone's shoulders and landed in front of Yan Jinxiu. He took off his coat and put it on Yan Jinxiu. The scene became strangely quiet. A cold feeling spread through the crowd. The air froze and it was like something invisible was binding their necks, making it hard to breathe. Why was the royal prince here? Sheng curled his lips. Trick, it was all a trick. Duan Wuqi's gaze swept over Sheng. The meaning was very clear. It was condemnation and disgust. Hey, this male lead sir has cat biscuits. What did this treasure do now? I even gave your woman a high score, and this is how you repay me. Sheng slammed the table and stood up. What are you doing? You think I did it? Sheng's roar successfully broke the silence. The stagnant air began to flow slowly. As the fresh air entered their stomachs, everyone felt alive again. Grand Tutor Chi. What's with the princess's eye? Why didn't she look like a princess at all? Is it not the princess? Duan Wuqi was only surprised for a moment, then asked with a cold face. Shallow. Sheng rested his hands on the table and smiled maliciously. I did it. Do you think it's as simple as making a fool of herself? Everyone. So the word superficial was used to describe what? They may have gone to a fake school. Duan Wuqi berated her in a low voice. Does Princess still know her own status? Sheng crossed his arms in front of his chest and smiled like a ruffian. Of course I know. You're a person who can be sentenced to death just by finding a crime. Duan Wuqi. This was different from what he had imagined. Yan Jinxiu suddenly stood up and said weakly, Your Highness, this has nothing to do with the princess. Sheng smiled coldly. If it had nothing to do with her, why didn't she stand up earlier? Now that she was facing the male lead, she stood up. What were her intentions? Duan Wuqi frowned slightly and his eyes were cold. Do you know who it was? Someone dared to touch the person he liked. Your Highness, I won't trouble you with this. Yan Jinxiu's voice was soft, as if she was being bullied and didn't dare to speak. Duan Wuqi acted like a domineering prince. Speak boldly. This prince will support you. Everyone was shocked by Duan Wuqi's words, especially the girls who had committed the crime. They had never expected Duan Wuqi to come and speak up for Yan Jinxiu. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Yan Jinxiu bowed and said softly, No one is targeting me. It's just that I moved too much and tore the seam of the clothes. Miss Yan, you're wrong. The clothes made by my Linglong workshop will never have this kind of problem. Red Lady suddenly interrupted. Her voice was gentle and charming. Miss Yan, don't cover up for someone. Even if you take a step back, the other party might not take a step back. In the end, the one who gets hurt is you. Linglong Workshop's clothes were famous for being gorgeous and good quality. Ordinary people couldn't get their hands on Linglong Workshop's clothes. This Red Lady was actually from Linglong Workshop? But Red Lady didn't say anything. If Yan Jinxiu insisted on saying that there was a problem with Linglong Workshop's clothes, and that she was destroying Linglong Workshop's reputation, she wouldn't sit by and do nothing. Yan Jinxiu. She didn't want to cover up for anyone. She wanted to solve it herself. But if she insisted that there was a problem with the quality of the clothes, she would offend Linglong Workshop. She didn't want to attract too much attention. Miss Yan, if you know who it is, just say it. My Juxian Pavilion won't tolerate this kind of malicious competition. Juxian Pavilion also joined in. Yan Jinxiu bit her lips and said softly, I don't know who did it. Then it will be interesting. Shisheng sat back down and took out a handful of melon seeds. There was still a good show to watch. Duan Muqi gave Shisheng a warning glare. Shisheng didn't back down and glared back. Do you want to see whose eyes are bigger? PFFF Princess, what are you doing at this time? Your Highness, pay attention to your status. Grand Tutor Qi reminded Shisheng. Where did all the etiquette that he taught her go? Shisheng put the melon seeds in front of Grand Tutor Qi. Eat the melon seeds and don't talk. The old man kept nagging. It was annoying. Grand Tutor Qi stared at the melon seeds on the table. What are these? Shisheng. Are there no melon seeds in this world? There aren't even any melon seeds. This is too shabby. Bad review. These are melon seeds. It's a must to watch a show, Shisheng explained. He then demonstrated the technique of peeling melon seeds to Grand Tutor Qi. Grand Tutor Qi imitated Shisheng and put the melon seeds into his mouth. At first, he didn't control his strength well, and the shells of the melon seeds were all crushed. After a few more tries, Grand Tutor Qi could skillfully crack the melon seeds. Grand Tutor Qi, who had never eaten melon seeds before, immediately fell in love with them. He ate them faster than Shisheng. Where did your Highness get this food? Grand Tutor Qi felt that he should find out where it came from so that it would be easier for him to eat it in the future. Shisheng flips the table. What should she say? Melon seeds from another world? 10 yuan per kilogram? Shisheng hesitated for a moment. Then his eyes lit up. It's a tribute. Grand Tutor Qi was a little disappointed. How could they casually eat something that was a tribute? Asterisk little fairy. Please give me a tribute ticket. Cherub. Your requirements are getting higher and higher. Little fairy. I'm a little fairy. Cherub. Don't be shameless. Little fairy. I don't want a ticket if I'm shameless. Chapter 920. Shisheng and Grand Tutor Qi were happily eating melon seeds, and the male and female lead's performance was also very good. Yan Jinxiu insisted that she didn't know who did it. Red Lady didn't want to ruin her reputation, and Juxian Lu wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Duan Muqi wanted to seek justice for Yan Jinxiu, so he would investigate this matter. At that time, there were people from Juxian Lu waiting in the changing room. As long as they interrogated carefully, it wouldn't be difficult to find out who did it. A good flower appreciation banquet turned into a joint investigation. One by one, the servants were interrogated, and in the end, they locked onto 3 girls. 2 of them were the group of girls who invited Yan Jinxiu, and one of them was Miss Lin. It was reasonable to say that Miss Lin was the most suspicious because she was eliminated by Yan Jinxiu. However, Miss Lin was with her people at that time, and she met another girl on the way back, so she didn't go to the changing room. As for why Miss Lin went to the back, only she knew. In the end, only the 2 girls were left as suspects. Under Duan Muqi's interrogation, one of the girls couldn't help but betray the other. After that, both sides shirked their responsibilities, and in the end, they dragged the other 2 girls down. People's hearts are not what they used to be. Grand Tutor Qi shook his head and sighed. If it weren't for the fact that he was still munching on melon seeds, he would have looked like a well-respected elder. Shisheng looked at Duan Muqi punishing those people, and said faintly, for selfish desires, there's nothing that people don't dare to do. Your Highness, you see clearly. Grand Tutor Qi praised. Shisheng smiled but didn't say anything. He wasn't bragging, but he had seen more people than he had eaten. Red Lady glanced sideways, as if she was sizing up Shisheng and Grand Tutor Qi. When Shisheng looked over, Red Lady immediately turned her gaze and looked at Duan Muqi as if nothing had happened. This matter wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. They were all daughters of officials, and if they wanted to escalate it, it could make the two families fight. Duan Muqi couldn't casually punish them, so he could only ask for Yan Jinxiu's opinion. Because there were so many people, Yan Jinxiu couldn't punish them too harshly. She could only sullenly let them apologize. Originally, by taking revenge herself, she could let them know the consequences of offending her. Now that the three parties had interfered and caused the situation to become like this, Yan Jinxiu's good impression of Duan Muqi, that had just risen, instantly fell to zero. The flower-admiring banquet could not be held any longer. Everyone went back to their own homes and looked for their mothers. Farewell, Your Highness. Shi Sheng's identity was the most honorable, so he naturally went first. When he arrived at the edge of the deck, the boat was already prepared. Just as Shi Sheng stepped on the wooden ladder connecting the two boats, a black shadow suddenly rushed out of the water. The wooden ladder was kicked away and Shi Sheng was almost dragged into the water. At the same time, a group of black-clothed men rushed out from all around the pleasure boat. The sound of water splashing could be heard, and a sense of crisis was pressing in. The black-clothed men landed on the pleasure boat and attacked Shi Sheng without a word. Naturally, Shi Sheng was attacked as well. Shi Sheng was speechless. How did he get shot even when he was lying down? Where is I's sword? Shi Sheng took out his iron sword and blocked the attack of the black-clothed man. He scolded angrily. What's wrong with you? Kill whoever you want. Why are you attacking I? These people were definitely not targeting her. After all, she had not offended anyone, and was not the next crown prince. The men in black were speechless. Who let you stand so close to them? If they didn't attack you, who would they attack? The men in black saw that Shi Sheng did not have much intention to fight, so they decisively gave up on her, and ran into the pleasure boat. Shi Sheng directly jumped into the empty boat below. How do I row the boat? It seems like I need to use a paddle. Where is the paddle? Shi Sheng looked around the boat, but did not see anything similar to a paddle. Damn. Does I have to row with my hands? Your Highness. Grand Tutor Qi stood at the edge and waved at Shi Sheng. Jump. Grand Tutor Qi looked down. The distance was a little high. His legs trembled. Your Highness. Just when Grand Tutor Qi was hesitating, a person bumped into him from behind and directly knocked him down. With a splash, he fell into the water. Shi Sheng was speechless. What a retarded Grand Tutor Qi. Shi Sheng picked up Grand Tutor Qi. Grand Tutor Qi's whole body was soaked and his old face was pale. He was scared to death. Do you know how to row the boat? Shi Sheng stopped beside Grand Tutor Qi and asked him calmly. Grand Tutor Qi's brain was probably flooded with water. He was a little confused. After a while, he sat up while trembling. Yes, Your Highness, where is the paddle? Grand Tutor Qi looked around but could not find the paddle. He could only ask Shi Sheng. How would I know? Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. When she came down, there was no paddle. Grand Tutor Qi was speechless. Then how to row the boat? Just when the two of them were staring at each other, another person jumped into the boat. The boat swayed from side to side and Grand Tutor Qi almost fell into the boat. Go. Red Lady, who was at the bow of the boat, shouted at Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng and Grand Tutor Qi both looked at her in silence. If it wasn't for the fierce fighting above, Red Lady would have thought that she was not running for her life, but was enjoying the scenery instead. This old man and this young woman were too calm. Grand Tutor Qi coughed. There is no paddle. Red Lady was speechless. Red Lady used her internal energy to send the boat to the shore. Just then, the Imperial Guards arrived and surrounded Shi Sheng and Grand Tutor Qi. Red Lady took the opportunity to leave, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Your Highness, please punish this subordinate for being late to the rescue. Shi Sheng glared at the Imperial Guards. Who told you that I was here? The Imperial Guards glanced at Grand Tutor Qi. The wet Grand Tutor Qi immediately received Shi Sheng's cold gaze. He shivered. Ouch. Grand Tutor Qi closed his eyes and fell to the side of the Imperial Guards who happened to catch him. Grand Tutor Qi, you even know how to pretend to faint. Shi Sheng waved his hand with black lines on his forehead. Send Grand Tutor Chi back. Yes. After sending Grand Tutor Chi away, the Imperial Guards nervously looked at Shi Sheng. Your Highness, it's dangerous here. Your Highness, please leave. You're not going to help. Normally, shouldn't these people go and help? The Imperial Guard said in a serious tone. We are only responsible for protecting Your Highness. Your Highness, please leave. Let's watch the show. She didn't want to leave. If she left, there would be no show to watch. Bring me a chair. Imperial Guards. Shi Sheng didn't want to leave. The Imperial Guards had no choice but to bring her a chair according to her order, and surrounded her with 3 layers of people. When the city guards arrived, they saw a large group of Imperial Guards standing on the shore and watching the show. The city guards were responsible for the security of the capital. The Imperial Guards were responsible for the security of the Imperial Palace. The 2 armies had nothing to do with each other. Therefore, when the Imperial Guards stood here and watched the show, they couldn't say anything. Little fairy. I'm here to watch the show. Give me money. Cherub. I'm so cute. Can I eat and dash? Little fairy. I'm so cute. Can I not update? Cherub. System. A stack of tickets was thrown at her face. Little fairy, come hit me. I have nothing to fear. Cherub. System. Chapter 921. When the men in black realized that the situation was not right, they immediately retreated. The men in black who were forced to stay committed suicide without hesitation. Yin Jinxiu was a little injured. It was not too serious, but it was not light either. It was very good to hide the fact that she knew martial arts. Yin Jinxiu was carried ashore by Duanmuqi. When they passed by Shi Sheng, Duanmuqi glanced at her coldly. Shi Sheng gritted his teeth. Was the male lead's brain sick? She didn't do anything. What did he mean by acting like she was the one who ordered him to do it? You beat him up. Will he not bear a grudge? Idiot host. What did you say? Nothing. The battery ran out. Go offline. Your Highness. Shi Sheng just said that sentence directly. The Imperial Guards asked in confusion. Shi Sheng cursed the ancestors of the system in his heart, and said without changing his expression, It's okay. A group of frightened young masters and young ladies went ashore with weak hands and legs. When they saw Shi Sheng sitting on the shore leisurely, many of them were dissatisfied. The Imperial Guards came so early, but she didn't let them save them. The next day, Shi Sheng was impeached. As the eldest princess, she didn't care about her subjects. This gave the emperor a headache. It's fine if you do it secretly, but you also swaggered around. Isn't this asking for trouble? Just when the emperor didn't know what to do, Grand Tutor Chi, who hadn't been to court for a long time, suddenly stood up and said that he was willing to teach the eldest princess. This gave the emperor a way out. The emperor immediately agreed. So, Shi Sheng didn't know that he had one more grand tutor. If you have something to report, please report. If not, the court is dismissed. The eunuch's sharp voice spread throughout the throne room. Your Majesty. Song Hung, the minister of the Ministry of Revenue, stood up. What do you plan to do with those things last time? The people in the throne room, who were still a little uninterested, immediately became spirited when they heard Song Heng's words. Song Heng was talking about the gold, silver, and jewelry that inexplicably appeared in their backyard. At this time, those things had been sent to the national treasury. But because the origin was unknown, they only did an inventory and didn't make any plans. The emperor was silent for a moment. Since we didn't find anything, we will confiscate them and put them in the national treasury. Yes. Song Heng heaved a sigh of relief. But before he could relax, someone had already set their sights on this batch of gold, silver, and jewelry. Your Majesty, recently, our Ministry of War needs to change weapons. Lord Song has been holding us back, saying that the treasury is empty. But now Lord Song can't refuse. The Ministry of War needs to change weapons to protect the country. What do you think, Your Majesty? The person who spoke was the Minister of War, Duan Feng. Duan Feng had been angry before. Why did so many things not appear in his backyard, but in the backyard of his sworn enemy, Song Heng? Who knew if he had hidden them? At this moment, no matter what, he had to carve out a piece of meat from him. Sir Duan, How many months has it been since your Ministry of War last changed weapons? The two countries aren't at war right now, so how could it be consumed so quickly? Song Hung retorted loudly. Duan Feng sneered. How much did Lord Song approve last time? How can there be enough to replace so many soldiers in the Ministry of War? Lord Duan has used various reasons to ask for money from the Ministry of Revenue. Isn't that enough? Lord Song, what is the meaning of this? Are you saying that I'm embezzling? I, Duan Feng, am loyal to His Majesty. How could I do such a thing? Lord Song, don't slander me. You know very well whether Lord Duan did it or not. The two of them quarreled directly in the court. The emperor had been silent, and no one knew what he was thinking. Just as the two of them were quarreling fiercely, a little eunuch hurried in from the side door. Your Majesty, the Prime Minister is back. This sentence was not loud, but the noisy throne room instantly quieted down. Yin Mansion. Yen Jinxiu was lying on the bed, and a person dressed as a maid was kneeling beside the bed. Miss, we have the whereabouts of the gold. Yen Jinxiu glanced sideways, her pale face full of coldness. Where is it? The maid was silent for a moment, then spat out two words, the treasury. Yen Jinxiu's pupils shrank. Is the news confirmed? It's absolutely true. Today, the Minister of War and the Minister of Revenue quarreled over this. Cough, cough, cough. Yen Jinxiu suddenly coughed, and her face became even paler. The maid quickly got up to help Yen Jinxiu breathe. Miss, I suspect that there is a traitor, the maid said in a low voice. Miss had given this matter to her to handle. She had only told the few people she trusted the most, but when her people went, it had already been emptied. Yen Jinxiu coughed for a while, then took a deep breath. Impossible. There are so many things. The news was leaked from here, and those things were moved away. It would not be so fast. Then what does Miss think? That day, the people who went down the cliff included the imperial guards who were looking for Duanmu Zhangning, and Yen Jinxiu paused, Duanmu Qi. Miss suspects Junwang Yi? The maid was shocked. His appearance is too coincidental, and that place is very close to the cave. Yen Jinxiu calmly analyzed. Have you found Duanmu Qi's secret forces? The maid shook her head. Junwang Ye's people are all normal. He did not contact anyone. From returning to the capital until now, we have investigated all the people he has contacted. There is nothing unusual. Continue to investigate. Yes. The maid replied respectfully. She glanced at Yen Jinxiu and said carefully, Miss, do you really think it is Junwang Yi? Yen Jinxiu touched the wound on her arm and lowered her eyes. He is the most suspicious. It is always good to investigate clearly. This subordinate understands. When Yen Jinxiu suspected Duanmu Qi did not know at all. At this time, his mind was filled with the sword in Shisheng's hand. However, no matter how his men investigated, there was no news at all. No one in the palace had seen Princess Royal use this sword. Prince, could it be that Princess Royal got it from the bottom of the cliff? The steward raised his own opinion. Since Princess Royal did not have it before, she had it after coming back. The only explanation was that she got it from the bottom of the cliff. It was such a high mountain, but Princess Royal was fine after falling down. No matter how one looked at it, it was strange. Duanmu Qi thought of how Shisheng suddenly knew martial arts. It was really possible that she got something good from the bottom of the cliff. Keep an eye on her. Yes. The steward replied. He hesitated for a moment. Prince, I have something to report to you. Duanmu Qi picked up the tea beside him and took a sip. Speak. Miss Yan's people have been investigating us recently. Do we need to do anything? Duanmu Qi had instructed not to do anything to Yen Jinxiu, so the steward asked alone. Duanmu Qi pondered for a moment. Don't expose the important things. Let her investigate the rest. He wanted to see how much that woman could find out. She was clearly a little wild cat with sharp claws, but she had to pretend to be a harmless little sheep. Wasn't this more interesting? Asterisk cherub who do not have enough fans, please follow Weibo, Little Fairy Shisheng. Chapter 922. Shisheng looked at the old man in disdain. What are you doing here? Grand Tutor Chi smiled kindly. Your Highness, from today onwards, I will continue to teach you. Sheng was speechless. Which idiot was up to no good again? What was the meaning of this old man's visit? Sheng only heard about what had happened in the imperial court later on. If it weren't for Grand Tutor Chi's age, Sheng would probably have thrown him out. Grand Tutor Chi taught seriously. Although Grand Tutor Chi was a little naggy, he wasn't a stubborn old man. Apart from teaching Sheng etiquette, he was more lenient on everything else. Your Highness, do you still have the melon seeds from last time? Grand Tutor Chi asked secretly after class. Sheng was speechless. You're here just to eat melon seeds? Although Grand Tutor Chi didn't want to admit it, it was the truth. He was here for the melon seeds. Otherwise, at his age, why would he come here to teach the princess instead of enjoying his life at home? Wouldn't that be crazy? Grand Tutor Chi, how about I make a deal with you? Sheng smiled at Grand Tutor Chi. Grand Tutor Chi immediately expressed his stance. Your Highness, I won't agree if your request is too much. He was a principled Grand Tutor. Do I look like the kind of person who makes unreasonable requests? Sheng glared at him. Grand Tutor Chi was speechless. Very much so. The eldest princess used to be such a cute little girl. He didn't know how she had become like this after just a few years. Sometimes, she looked harmless, but sometimes, she was full of evil aura, as if she could take your life at any time. He had been a grand tutor for so many years and had taught many princes and princesses. He knew that these children who grew up in the palace had two sides, one in front of others, and another behind others. He could understand that this was forced by their environment. However, this eldest princess gave him a very strange feeling. Grand Tutor Chi, do you still want to eat melon seeds? Grand Tutor Chi thought for a moment and said very sensibly, Your Highness, please speak. Bending over for melon seeds. Don't appear in my bright peace palace and I'll provide you with melon seeds. How about it? Grand Tutor Chi was a little hesitant. He had made an agreement with His Majesty. However, when he thought about the attitude of this student in class, Grand Tutor Chi felt that even if he really came every day, it wouldn't be very effective. All right. Sheng's eyes curved into crescents as he stuffed a large bag of melon seeds for Grand Tutor Chi. Since Grand Tutor Chi refused to give Sheng lessons, he naturally had to report this to the emperor. Grand Tutor Chi told the emperor that he was powerless and couldn't withstand the torment of young people. Unknowingly, he had dug a hole for the Sheng. The emperor gave Sheng a good scolding and even threatened to marry her off. She was almost 17 now. In modern times, she was still underage. But here she was an old lady. No one wanted her. Although the emperor did not force her, he was still anxious in his heart. Sheng, who had been scolded badly, came out of Yangxin Palace Hall and scratched his head in frustration. She hadn't even found her Feng Xiai yet. So how was she going to get married? Hidden quest. Tie the knot, Sheng. Feng Xiai is online? It would come as she wished. How could she predict it? Why did he remind me so early this time? There was a ghost. Who was the ultimate villain in this novel again? Oh, right. The Prime Minister of Jin Country, Lian Chen. A treacherous official. The Lian family was famous for being a family of treacherous officials. His father was a treacherous official who robbed the people of their wealth. He was so evil that he oozed pus. In the end, he died at the hands of a woman. His father's father was also a treacherous official. He took bribes and bent the law. In the end, he also died at the hands of a woman. Lian Chen was already the third generation of treacherous officials. They had heard of honorable titles being passed down to their descendants, but they had never heard of the title of treacherous official being passed down generation after generation. What would they say to their descendants in the future? Would they say that their ancestors were all treacherous officials, and that if they couldn't become a treacherous official, they would be a disgrace to their family? Thinking about that scene, it was simply too beautiful. If they monopolized the market, what would those who wanted to become a treacherous official think? Would they still be happy to be a treacherous official? The people of the Lian family were so smart that it made people's hair stand on end. Countless people wanted to catch them, but they couldn't. Everyone knew that they were treacherous officials, but they couldn't produce any evidence and couldn't do anything to them. It was so frustrating. Lian Chen's father and grandfather were a bit greedy and scoundrels. However, when it came to national affairs, they handled them very well. They could be considered patriotic. They were the kind of people who were loved and hated at the same time. As for Lian Chen, this person was also very patriotic. Damn, he wanted to usurp the throne. That wasn't patriotic. Okay, back to the topic. System, tell me, why did you remind me so early this time? Wasn't it good to remind you early? What do you want? Was it easy? It was wrong not to remind you. And it was wrong to remind you. Host, if you're so hard to please, why don't you go to heaven? This system quit. Marry Lian Chen and change the ending. After saying this, the system went offline and shut down. Shisheng. Oh, this retarded system's temper was getting worse. Shisheng slowly walked down the steps. The first hurdle wasn't whether Lian Chen would marry her or not, but whether her cheap father would agree to it. Would you be willing to marry the apple of your eye to a treacherous official? A treacherous official who wanted to usurp the throne. What was Lian Chen's ending? Shisheng rummaged through her mind. As the biggest villain, Lian Chen fought with the female protagonist until the end. In the end, he died in the hands of a woman. 3 generations of treacherous officials ended here. The Lian family definitely had a grudge against women. Shisheng looked around but didn't see anyone. Based on System's annoying nature, the person who reminded her was definitely around here. Go back to the palace first. Shisheng wanted to send Xiaoxian away. Your Highness? Where do you want to go? Xiaoxian was worried. I'll go with you. Shisheng said angrily. How can I get lost in the palace? You won't get lost, but you can run away. Xiaoxian still remembered the previous 2 lessons clearly. Your Highness, I'll just follow you from afar. Shisheng glared at Xiaoxian. Believe it or not, I'll beat you. Your Highness, even if you beat me, I'll still follow you. If she lost him again, she would lose her life. Shisheng was helpless. If she wanted to follow him, then so be it. She could get rid of him halfway anyway. Shisheng looked around and chose to walk in the direction of the imperial garden. When he ran into a group of palace maids and eunuchs who were delivering food to the emperor, he took the opportunity to get rid of them. After getting rid of the palace maids and eunuchs, Shisheng walked around the imperial garden according to the original owner's memory. The imperial garden was quite big. There were all kinds of flowers in it. Some could be named, some could not be named. They were all connected together and decorated the imperial garden with beautiful purples and reds. When he came to a rockery, Shisheng heard a slight sound coming from there. There was a small path leading to the back of the rockery. Shisheng slowly approached, and the view blocked by the rockery became clearer and clearer. After turning a corner, there was a touch of beautiful color in front of her eyes. Then she saw a gorgeous man. Asterisk votes votes. Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Chapter 923. Gorgeous was not the right word to describe this man. But Shisheng felt that it was the most appropriate word to describe him. He was wearing a gorgeous robe embroidered with koi carps playing with lotuses and peach blossoms. His wide sleeves and the hem of his robe reached the ground. He held a folding fan in his hand, the handle of which was made of blood-red jade. The other end of the fan was holding the chin of a shy palace made with peach blossoms on her face. Shisheng was speechless. Oh my God! What was he trying to do? Why did he feel like he was catching them in the act? Shisheng was considering whether he should go out and catch them in the act when the man suddenly moved. He pulled out a dagger from nowhere and pressed it against the palace maid's neck. Blood splashed out, and the man dodged to the side. The palace maid did not seem to have expected this outcome. Her eyes widened and she looked at the man in disbelief. She took a few breaths of air with difficulty and found that it did not work. The disbelief in her eyes turned into horror. She reached out and grabbed the man's robe. Her chest rose and fell. Her fingers became weaker and weaker, and she slowly fell to the ground. Blood fell onto the gravel and soaked into the ground. Have you seen enough? The man's voice had a beautiful ending tone, which made people's hearts go numb. Of course, If there was not a corpse in front of him. Shisheng clutched his chest. This was the first time he met this idiot, and he had seen him kill someone. If he wanted to kill someone to silence them, should he defend himself or run away? Or should he just sleep with him? Lianchen slowly turned his head, and his eyes fell on where Shisheng was standing. His face was also exceptionally gorgeous, with a kind of aggressive beauty. Standing in front of him would make people feel ashamed and unable to show their faces. Especially those peach blossom eyes, which were like a pool of spring water that made people want to immerse themselves in them. There was a cold aura around him, which did not make people feel that he was gentle. Instead, there was a kind of alienated nobility and indifference. He was like a work of art that had been carefully carved by a sculptor and placed on a display table. He did not need any words to make him the most eye-catching and dazzling. Your Highness the eldest princess? Lianchen looked at her clearly and asked in a questioning tone. Why did you kill her? Shisheng gestured at the corpse on the ground with his chin. You didn't do it well. Blood is all over the place. Lianchen suddenly didn't know what kind of expression he should use to face this eldest princess. Her performance was completely different from what he had expected. She didn't scream in panic, nor did she loudly question him. She just calmly asked him why he wanted to kill her, and commented on the way he killed her. Lianchen was silent for a while. His peach blossom eyes had an obscure luster. This humble subject didn't know that Your Highness could learn killing techniques. Shisheng grinned. This guy's pretty smart, huh? He got suspicious so quickly. Do you need me to teach you? Lianchen's doubts were blocked by this sentence. He looked at Shisheng strangely again. The eldest princess he knew was an arrogant, despotic, and willful little girl. But the girl in front of him, it was not the kind of arrogance that was ostentatious and flashy. It was the kind of arrogance that came from the depths of her bones. This eldest princess gave him a very strange feeling. It was very faint, and before he could catch it, it had disappeared. It is this humble subject's honor to be taught by Your Highness. Lianchen restrained the obscurity in his eyes, and said in a flirtatious tone. To be honest, Shisheng couldn't see through him. He wasn't like the Feng Xi she had met before. She could tell what kind of person they were, and what kind of personality they had with a single glance. Lianchen gave her a very vague feeling. It was as if he was covered in a thin layer of gauze. That gauze wrapped around him, and prevented anyone from seeing through him. Your movements are too slow and you don't have enough strength. That's why the blood splashed out. Just kill a few more to practice. Oh. Of course you have to change to a sharper dagger. Hearing Shisheng talk about killing techniques in such a serious manner, Lianchen really didn't know how to react. He stood there and listened to the girl's soft voice. Can you imagine a beautiful girl asking you to kill a few more to practice? Your Highness, aren't you going to ask this humble subject why I killed her? Lianchen interrupted Shisheng. Shisheng paused and tilted his head to look at him. His eyes were calm as he asked very sensibly, why? Because I wanted to kill her, so I killed her. When Lianchen said this, his eyes were fixed on Shisheng, as if he wanted to find something from his brows. However, he was disappointed. Shisheng's expression didn't change. He just kicked the palace maid. People with impure motives should be killed. His foot landed on the palace maid's waist. With a clang, a dagger fell out. There was also a strangely shaped jade pendant on the palace maid's waist. How could a palace maid carry a jade pendant on her, let alone a dagger that fell out of her waist? Lianchen looked at Shisheng with a questioning gaze. When he said that, he was very calm. Do you need me to help you deal with the body? Shisheng turned his head and asked seriously. He was very good at disposing of bodies. Then I'll have to trouble Your Highness. Lianchen smiled faintly. The light in his eyes became even darker. Shisheng couldn't figure out what he was thinking. This idiot is so difficult to deal with. He's too guarded. System, aren't you going to give me technical support? At least give me the newbie gift bag. #host is still brooding over the newbie gift bag #. Shisheng didn't reply. He propped his chin up and thought for a moment. You didn't bow to me just now. Oh. You thought for so long, and this is all you said? He gathered his robe, clenched his fists and bowed. This humble subject pays his respects to your highness, Princess Royal. You can leave. Shisheng suddenly waved his hand with an unfriendly expression. She was afraid that she would do this idiot on the spot. Lianchen was stunned again. He was obviously confused by Shisheng's brainless behavior. He looked at Shisheng with interest, bowed again, and then dragged his luxurious robe out of the rockery. When he passed by Shisheng, he smelled the pleasant fragrance of a girl on her body. It was a very refreshing smell. She tilted her head, looking at something. Under the light, her fair neck was like a piece of beautiful jade that emitted a lustrous halo. Her long and dense eyelashes fluttered. She suddenly turned her head and met Lian Chen's gaze. She pulled the corners of her mouth and revealed a nasty smile. Prime Minister Lian, are you waiting for me to call someone to arrest you? This humble subject is curious. Why would your highness? Lianchen tried hard to find a word in his mind. Help this humble subject? In Jin Nation, he reckoned that everyone wanted him dead. Probably because you're good-looking. Shisheng answered casually. Lianchen. He glanced at the corpse on the ground, turned around and walked out of the rockery. There was already someone waiting outside. When he saw him, he immediately came up to him. Sir, do you need me to deal with this? No need. Go and check on the Princess Royal. That person was puzzled. Sir and the Princess Royal didn't have much interaction. Why would he check on her for no reason? Lianchen added. Investigate everything, no matter how big or small. #hashtag today. I'm looking for ocean-flavored tickets #hashtag. I'm just asking if you have all the blessings. Anyway, I have all the blessings. Haha hashtag. Chapter 924. Shisheng came out from behind the rockery and bumped into Xiaoxian and the others who were rushing over. Your Highness. Xiaoxian saw Shisheng and felt relieved. Luckily, His Highness didn't sneak out of the palace. Shisheng brushed his skirt and said calmly, There's a corpse over there. Take care of it. Xiaoxian was confused. Huh? What corpse? How long had she been separated from His Highness? How could there be a corpse? Your Highness, what did you do behind my back? Xiaoxian asked someone to take a look at the place Shisheng pointed. Sure enough, a corpse was dragged out. The wound on the neck was still bleeding and dripping onto the ground, staining the ground red. Your Highness, this? Xiaoxian was still calm when she saw the corpse. It was normal for people to die in the palace. It was common for palace masters to kill palace maids and eunuchs. But the way this palace maid died, I don't know who killed her. Shisheng lied through his teeth. She died when I came. Xiaoxian. Your Highness, can't you hide your expression when you're lying? Your expression clearly shows that you know. Xiaoxian looked at the corpse and then glanced at Shisheng. She ordered the people behind her. Take care of it. Do it cleanly. His Highness didn't say how he died. If they didn't clean it up and someone saw it, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Lian Manner Study. Lianchen held a folding fan and waved it. The handle of the folding fan was made of blood-red jade, but the surface of the fan was black. As it waved, there was a faint blood-red light flashing. Beside him, someone was reporting something, but Lianchen's expression was indifferent. His eyes were lowered, and it was unknown if he was listening. The eldest princess is very strict in the palace. The servants outside don't know much. Her personal servants are very tight-lipped and can't get anything out of them. But the eldest princess has changed recently, starting from when she came back from Shangqing Temple. I also heard that the eldest princess has a sword. Duan Muqi is investigating this sword. Lianchen's hand paused and the fan stopped waving. The pure black surface of the fan was dotted with blood-red marks. It looked very strange. Sword. Lianchen's eyebrows raised slightly. His gorgeous face seemed to be able to steal people's souls. The subordinate handed over a picture. It was Shisheng's iron sword. Lianchen pressed the folding fan against the surface of the drawing and slowly slid down. The blade of the sword was revealed bit by bit. This sword. What did Duan Muqi find out? No. The subordinate shook his head. No one has seen this sword before. I took the initiative to look into it, but there was no news. Duan Muqi definitely had a motive for spending so much effort to investigate this sword. The space was silent. After a long time, Lianchen said slowly, "You may leave." "Young master?" The subordinate was puzzled. Was he not going to investigate anymore? Lianchen tugged at the corners of his mouth and smiled. There seemed to be countless flowers blooming in his eyes, making his face even more gorgeous. Since the person above had protected her so well, he wouldn't be able to find out much. He had a feeling that his interaction with the eldest princess had just begun. In the end, Yan Jinxiu's matter still spread in the circle. Even if it was only a little bit at the flower-admiring banquet, it was enough to make people talk about it. In this era, other than the hands and face, if a woman's other parts were exposed, it would be considered unchaste and impure. This kind of verbal rumor was not easy to investigate. Even if Yan Jinxiu was angry, she couldn't do anything about it. She could only endure it and secretly teach those who talked too much. Shisheng only heard a few words about this. She was busy persuading that cheap father emperor to let her move out of the palace. If she moved out of the palace, not only would it be inconvenient to work in the palace and watch the show, she would also miss a lot of good shows. More importantly, she would have less contact with Lianchen. There was no shortcut this time. She could only start with Lianchen. As long as Lianchen agreed to marry her, she would go and talk to her cheap father emperor. Both sides would put pressure on each other and play a bit of bitterness. Her cheap father emperor might even agree. If she ran now and asked her cheap father emperor to decree her to marry Lianchen, her cheap father emperor would definitely chop her with a knife. And, most importantly, she felt that Lianchen wouldn't marry her so easily, so her cheap father emperor's opinion wasn't important. What was important was that idiot Lianchen. After coaxing and pestering for a few days, Shisheng finally got the approval. Since the emperor favored her so much, the princess mansion naturally had to be rebuilt. But this was not the cultivation world. It could be done in minutes. It would take a long time for such a mansion to be built. Shisheng chose an empty mansion near the Lian residence. All she had to do was get someone to renovate it. This mansion has been empty for many years. Why did they suddenly start to renovate it? Most of the people nearby have moved out. I don't know who was so stupid to come here. The onlookers all looked at the opposite side in fear. That was the territory of the Lian mansion. Shisheng chose a mansion diagonally opposite the Lian mansion. She could see the gate of the Prime Minister's mansion when she went out of the main entrance. It wouldn't take long to renovate the mansion. When the mansion was finished, Shisheng refused to let the emperor send a large group of people to see her off. But for auspicious reasons, he still made a simple ceremony. "Your Highness, this is a gift from the Lian mansion." Xiao Xian walked up to Shisheng with a long brocade box in her hands. She had a strange expression on her face. Why would Prime Minister Lian give Your Highness a gift for no reason? Prime Minister Lian and the princess didn't have much interaction. "We'll be neighbors in the future. Of course we have to build a good relationship." Shisheng took the brocade box and looked at it. It was a landscape painting signed by Lianchen. "Shisheng, that's quite frugal. Stingy. Your Highness, why did you choose this mansion?" "The Lian mansion. It wasn't a good place." Shisheng glanced at Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian immediately lowered her head and didn't say anything else. Her Highness's aura was getting stronger and stronger. Just one look and one movement was enough to make people afraid. Shisheng had no idea what Xiao Xian was thinking. She glanced at the landscape painting. She had never been interested in such elegant things, so she asked Xiao Xian to put it away. Xiao Xian was about to take it away when Shisheng stopped her. "Hang it up in the study." Xiao Xian looked at Shisheng in confusion. Her lips moved, but she didn't say anything. She curtsied and turned to leave. Shisheng had already moved in for a month. During this time, she hadn't left the house. There were too many people following her around in this world. She couldn't even turn them down. Every time she left the house, it was like going to war. Shisheng was tired of staying in the mansion for so long. He was ready to go out for some fresh air. With a circle of servants, he swaggered out of the front door. Because she wanted to take a walk, she didn't ask anyone to prepare a carriage. Just as he walked down the steps, he saw Lianchen leisurely walk out of the residence, dragging his beautiful peach-colored robe. He was waving a black folding fan in his hand. He raised his eyes slightly and happened to see the young girl surrounded by servants. She seemed to have just stood there. Her skirt was still swaying, and her eyes were as bright as stars, reflecting his gorgeous figure. Asterisk a new week. Please vote. Don't hesitate to send me to the rankings. Chapter 925. Lianchen changed direction and walked toward Shisheng, a faint smile on his lips. This humble subject greets your highness. For a man to wear clothes of this color without showing any femininity, it was king enough. Prime Minister Lian, remember to salute me this time. Shisheng raised his hand. It's my duty. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. I've done you such a big favor. Shouldn't you treat me to a meal to express your gratitude? It's my honor. Lianchen suddenly smiled a little dazzlingly. What would you like to eat, your highness? Shisheng turned to ask Xiaoxian, where's the most expensive meal in the capital? The corners of Lianchen's mouth twitched. Golden Jade Tower. Xiaoxian answered without hesitation. Lianchen's expression didn't change. He was about to reply when a certain princess said, then let's go to Juxian restaurant. Didn't she ask about Golden Jade Tower? Why did she go to Juxian restaurant? Lianchen was obviously not used to her incoherent way of speaking. After a while he said, you need to make a reservation in advance at Juxian restaurant. I'm afraid there are no seats available now. Ha! Shisheng looked arrogant and said arrogantly, I'm the eldest princess. Even if there are no seats available, you have to make room for me. Don't you think so, Prime Minister? This bastard actually told her that there were no seats available. If you stood there, who would dare to sit? Did he really think that his title as a treacherous minister was just for show? Lianchen. He shouldn't have come just now. Shisheng brought Lianchen to Juxian restaurant aggressively. They didn't look like they were here to eat, but to confiscate property. The manager of Juxian restaurant was so scared that he trembled as he greeted them. This manager wasn't the one he saw before. Shisheng was wearing casual clothes, so he probably didn't recognize him. Shisheng didn't recognize him, but Lianchen did. In the capital, other than Lianchen, which man would wear peach-colored clothes? Greetings, Prime Minister. This commoner didn't go out to meet you. Please forgive me. Prepare a private room. Lianchen spoke slowly, and there was a hint of enchanting in his voice, which made people feel comfortable listening to him. Of course, that was if that person wasn't afraid. For example, the calm and composed Shisheng. Yes, I'll go prepare it right away. Prime Minister, please come in. The shopkeeper immediately invited them in. The people in the gathering Immortal Tower all lowered their heads, not daring to look in this direction. The entire hall was silent and oppressive. Prime Minister Lian is so mighty. Shisheng's voice suddenly rang out. Everyone around was shocked. Who was this little girl who wasn't afraid of death? She actually dared to talk about Lianchen like that. She didn't want to live anymore. However, there was no enraged scene as they had imagined. The handsome man whom they feared smiled faintly. This humble subject also does not understand why they are so afraid of such a handsome and dashing person like me. Shisheng gave Lianchen a strange look. Was this guy narcissistic? The first time they met, she felt that Lianchen was a person she couldn't understand at all. Because of this, she liked to think about Lianchen when she had nothing to do. Now it wasn't like he couldn't understand him at all. He was very polite and always had a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, making people feel that he was harmless. However, when he was talking and laughing, he might give you a fatal blow. For example, that little palace maid. This setting was perfect because he had a face that could turn people upside down. Handsome was omnipotent. But where did this narcissistic attribute come from? The crowd couldn't understand Lianchen's narcissism at all. They only heard him call himself a humble subject. There weren't many people who could make a country's prime minister call himself a humble subject. Other than the ones on the dragon throne, there were only a few princes. However, this was a little girl, so this was the eldest princess, Princess Chongning. What the people thought was naturally not within the scope of these two people's consideration. They calmly occupied a private room that had just been requisitioned. The gathering immortal tower was built on the shore of New Moon Lake. When they opened the window, they could see the rippling waves of the lake and several beautifully decorated pleasure boats floating on it. Your Highness, you came here just to see the lake? Lian Chen saw Shisheng standing by the window for a long time, and couldn't help but ask. Shisheng couldn't see through him. Naturally, he couldn't see through Shisheng either. Shisheng turned around and sat back in his chair. His face was full of sincerity. I came here to be alone with Prime Minister Lian. Alone with this humble subject? Lian Chen skillfully poured a cup of tea and handed it to Shisheng. Your Highness, please don't make fun of this humble subject. Shisheng held the tea and took a small sip. It was a little hot, so she put it down again. This princess is very pleased with Prime Minister Lian's beauty. Lian Chen's hand paused and the tea splashed onto the table. A second later he continued to pour tea. Thank you for your praise, Your Highness. Fuck. This idiot is not easy to flirt with at all. Shisheng didn't say anything else. Instead he picked up his chopsticks and began to eat. Shisheng didn't eat very fast. His posture was elegant and noble. Watching him eat was a pleasing scene. She didn't eat much. When she was about 60% full, she put down her chopsticks. As soon as she put down her chopsticks, Lian Chen also put down his bowl. The moment he put down his bowl, the girl opposite him said, Prime Minister Lian, do you have a wife or concubine? Lian Chen didn't have a wife, but whether he had a concubine to warm his bed was unknown. This humble subject has no wife or concubine. Lian Chen's heart was a little broken. He felt that it was easier to deal with those old foxes in the imperial court than with this eldest princess. He had no idea what she would say next. Shisheng's eyes curved. Very good. If he had a wife or concubine, she would probably kill him again. She would directly meet him in the next world. Lian Chen. Why did he feel that the girl opposite him smiled so sinisterly just now? What did it have to do with her whether he had a wife or concubine? After eating, Shisheng and Lian Chen left Juxian restaurant. The people downstairs were respectful and fearful. Lian Chen alone was quite scary, and now the eldest princess was involved. What did it mean that the eldest princess was with Lian Chen? After leaving Juxian restaurant, they had to walk around New Moon Lake for a distance before returning to the main street. Lian Chen was 2 steps behind Shisheng and followed Shisheng silently with his head down. His peach-red robe brushed past the peony flowers beside him, knocking down the petals that were about to wither. Shisheng looked sideways at him, and Lian Chen looked up at the same time. At that moment, Shisheng saw a flash of vigilance in his eyes. But in the blink of an eye, it was covered by the gorgeous color. Shisheng paused, turned around, and faced Lian Chen. Are you afraid of me? Your Highness is the eldest princess. This humble subject should be afraid. Lian Chen's answer was still watertight, and his expression was just right. Shisheng leaned forward slightly, closing the distance between them. She spat out a clear word from her mouth. Liar. This humble subject doesn't dare. Lian Chen took a few steps back and lowered his head. His black hair fell to his chest and fluttered in the breeze. White Jade, which family's man? Back to Tianjin by carriage. Looking at the east of Mo, it alarmed the people of Luoyang. The poem was written by Li Bai, Luoyang Mo. Chapter 926. Compared to Ming Jin, she liked Lian Chen more. Although he was guarded against her, he didn't try to hide it. He wasn't like that idiot Ming Jin. Just thinking about it made her angry. Your Highness. Lian Chen reminded her. Shisheng gathered her scattered thoughts and stared at Lian Chen with a smile. Prime Minister Lian, you don't have to be so guarded against me. I won't do anything to you. Of course, you won't believe me, but that's fine. One day you'll believe me. Lian Chen was stunned, his heart filled with confusion. What did she want? She helped him deal with the corpse in the palace, and now she was saying this. Shisheng's gaze suddenly landed on the pleasure boat in the distance. The boat was surrounded by gauze, but the wind on the lake blew the gauze, allowing her to see the scene inside the boat. Yin Jinxiu, she had just gotten into trouble here last time. but she still dared to go to the lake. As expected of the female lead, her guts were quite big. Just as Sheng was complaining, an accident happened. Someone suddenly started fighting on the boat. The boat swayed more and more, tilting to one side and capsizing. Two figures rushed out of the pleasure boat and began to fight on the surface of the lake. At that moment, a few more people broke out of the water and came forward to help. This world full of assassins was a mystical one. The assassin profession had a lot of potential. Should she go and open an assassin organization? The officials promised that all 5 licenses were complete. That was good. She didn't understand why these people liked to hide in the water. Couldn't they just blow up the boat? Why did they have to do it themselves? What a joke. The fight was fierce. Lian Chen observed Sheng from the side for a moment. This eldest princess was very different from before. Facing this kind of situation, she was too calm. It wasn't an act. There was no emotion in her eyes, as if it was all a show. He sensed danger from her. Your Highness. He really couldn't understand this eldest princess. It was best if he didn't interact with her in the future. It's dangerous here. This humble subject will send your Highness back home. She was going back just like that? The show wasn't over yet. Wait a moment. Lian Chen followed her gaze and looked at the lake. That person from the Yen family. He had heard that this person had taken a liking to Duan Muqi in the past, but recently, Duan Muqi and Yin Jinxiu had gotten closer. Did she stay because of this? Lian Chen felt a little uncomfortable, but he didn't know why. If your Highness likes it, you can have His Majesty issue an edict. Junwang Yi will not dare to disobey an edict. Lian Juanwang's deep voice was slightly muffled by the distant sounds of fighting. Sheng glanced at her with a cold look on his face. What did you say? Lian Chen respectfully repeated. If your Highness likes it, you can have His Majesty issue an edict. Junwang Yi wouldn't dare to disobey. Just as he finished speaking, he heard the girl opposite him snicker. Under the flickering light, a clear fragrance wafted over. Prime Minister Lian, is that really what you think? Her voice was cold for no reason, but it was also extremely calm, without any ripples. This retard actually dared to ask her to marry someone else? Lian Chen frowned slightly. A thought flashed through his mind, but he couldn't catch it. What was he trying to test? Answer my question. Is that really what you think? Every word seemed to have smashed into his heart, causing him to tremble. Lian Chen took a deep breath and suppressed his irritation. Your Highness, this humble official has overstepped the rules. Sheng reached out and twirled a strand of hair in front of his chest. His voice was cold. Think carefully before you speak next time. Lian Chen's lowered gaze happened to land on the back of Sheng's white hand. He could clearly see the meridians under the skin. He closed his eyes and said slowly, this humble official understands. Sheng let go of that strand of hair and turned to look at the lake again. The fighting on the lake was nearing its end. Yin Jinxiu stood on the overturned pleasure boat, dripping wet. Duan Muqi finished off the last person. He tapped lightly on the lake with the tip of his foot and swept across the water. He hugged Yin Jinxiu and brought her from the lake to the shore. The two of them landed right where Sheng was. Duan Muqi raised his head and met Sheng's calm eyes. His heart jumped. Why did he meet her again? His gaze turned and fell on the pink figure, and his heart began to beat wildly. Lian Chen. Why was he with this woman? Yin Jinxiu's face was pale. Her gaze quickly swept over Lian Chen. She wanted to bow to Sheng, but Duan Muqi held her up and prevented her from bowing. Junwang Yi is in such a good mood. Sheng spoke first. Playing such an exciting game on the lake with a beauty. It was hard to tell whether his tone was mocking or mocking. In any case, it was not pleasant to hear. Princess, there's no need to be sarcastic. Duan Muqi's expression was ugly. He was even more suspicious. Why was it so coincidental every time? Duan Muqi suddenly believed the steward's words. There was nothing that a woman who hated because of love wouldn't do. I already said it. What can you do to me? Sheng arrogantly raised his brows. He looked as if he wanted to be slapped to death. This was definitely a provocation. Duan Muqi's gaze swept over Lian Chen, who had his head lowered. He laughed coldly. Princess, don't play with fire. No matter the reason, getting involved with Lian Chen would not end well in the end. Shisheng could obviously tell what he was implying. He retorted without holding back. Junwangyi, don't ask for trouble. Aya. Shisheng suddenly called out sarcastically. He also dodged to the side. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A few small arrows shot out from the side of the flower bush. By the time Duanmuqi realized it, it was already over. An arrow hit his back. Duanmuqi staggered. His gaze suddenly became fierce. He turned around and jumped into the bush. He raised his sword and blood splattered onto the red peonies, making them even more beautiful. Puffed! Duanmuqi killed the person who ambushed him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His knees went weak and he knelt on one knee. Junwangyi. Yan Jinxiu exclaimed and quickly went to support him. Junwangyi, it looks like you didn't kill everyone just now. Shisheng continued to make sarcastic remarks. When the protagonist killed someone, there would always be a few fish that escaped the net. When the antagonist killed someone, the protagonist would always escape the net. It was simply poisonous. Cough cough. The arrow was probably poisonous. Duanmuqi's face was already green. He could not reply to Shisheng's words. Duanmuqi's people just happened to arrive at this time. They quickly took Duanmuqi away. Before Yan Jinxiu left, her gaze swept over Lian Chen and Shisheng. Damn, the retarded female lead wanted to cause trouble again. Shisheng tilted his head and walked over to Lian Chen. Prime Minister Lian's fan is quite sturdy. Lian Chen stood in the same spot. The fan in his hand was already open, exposing the black surface of the fan to the air. A hidden arrow lay quietly by his feet. It was pricked by a hidden arrow, but there was not even a mark. Lian Chen closed the fan with a swish. Your Highness is too kind. It's just to save my life. Shisheng smiled at Lian Chen. Prime Minister Lian, why don't you give it to me? Chapter 927. Lian Chen looked up at Shisheng. She looked serious and didn't seem to be joking. I'm sorry, Your Highness, but I can't give this to anyone. Shisheng smiled. Is it because you can't give it to anyone, or you can't give it to me? Lian Chen. Was there a difference? Since Lian Chen didn't answer, Shisheng didn't ask further. Let's go back. She had plenty of time. They still had plenty of time. When Shisheng came out, he forced Xiaoxian and the others to stay. So when she went back, Xiaoxian immediately surrounded her with people and looked her up and down. After making sure that she was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. Her Highness actually went out to eat with the Prime Minister alone. By the time Shisheng squeezed her way through the crowd, she could only see the peach-red dress disappearing into the door on the other side. The vermilion door slowly closed. Your Highness, let's go in. Your Highness, you can't do this again. If His Majesty knows that you went out alone with the Prime Minister, he will definitely be angry. What was Prime Minister Lian? A treacherous official. The entire Jin state knew that he was a treacherous official. Even His Majesty couldn't do anything to him. Who knew what would happen when Her Highness interacted with Prime Minister Lian? Xiaoxian wished that she could tell Shisheng about the 10 most evil things that Lian Chen had done. After all, the plot was just a summary. The original owner's impression of Lian Chen was only that he was better looking than her. She didn't like him. It was such a superficial thought. Lian Chen's father passed away when he was 15 years old. At that time, Lian Chen was only 15 years old, and there was turmoil in the imperial court. Under such circumstances, Lian Chen propped up the Lian family and climbed to the position of prime minister step by step. The most memorable thing was the Ziwu Gate incident and the Liu family's rebellion case. No one knew what happened at the Ziwu Gate incident. They only knew that Lian Chen killed a lot of imperial guards there. It was exaggerated to say that blood flowed like a river and bones were piled up like mountains. But in the end, the emperor just suppressed this matter and didn't have the slightest intention to punish Lian Chen. Instead, he promoted Lian Chen to an official position. Yes, it was after the Ziwu Gate incident that Lian Chen became the prime minister. As for the Liu family's rebellion case, Madame Liu was a meritorious official and had always held an important position in the imperial court. However, a young master of Lu Enterprises called him a sissy in front of Lian Qin and insulted him verbally. The next day, the Lu family was accused of treason and their entire family was executed overnight. This happened very quickly. Before many people could react, the people from Lu Enterprises were already gone. The case of the Lu family's rebellion caused a stir in the city. Lian Chun was impeached by countless ministers, saying that he defied the law and mobilized the imperial guards without authorization. That's right, this guy had brought the imperial guards with him when he raided the house. Because there was indeed evidence found in the Lu family, in the end, the emperor only punished him for the crime of using the imperial guards without authorization. In the end, he was still the prime minister. Your Highness, Prime Minister Lian is very scary. Don't get too close to him in the future. After Xiao Xian explained, she reminded the Shisheng worriedly. There are no women in his mansion? Shisheng obviously did not hear him. No. Although the Lian family is. Xiao Xian paused. They never mess around with women. The previous two, both died in. Xiao Xian did not continue. His Highness should have heard these rumors. Shisheng's eyes turned. I'm going to the palace. His Highness was so quick to change his mind. Your Highness, I'll prepare a sedan chair for you. No need. You stay in the mansion. Shisheng waved his hand and rushed out of the mansion, which had not yet been closed, in the direction of the palace. Your Highness. Xiao Xian chased after him and shouted to the others behind her. Hey, go and call for help. His Highness did not like to take anyone with him wherever he went. It was fine if nothing happened. If something happened, what would they do? Shisheng's speed was too fast for the others to follow. By the time they chased after him, he was already long gone. When Shisheng entered the palace, the emperor had just finished talking with the ministers. He leaned against the dragon chair and rested tiredly. A little palace maid stood behind him and massaged his shoulders. Greetings, Imperial Father. Shisheng casually curtsied. The emperor raised his hand, and the palace maid immediately retreated. Why did Changning enter the palace? Did someone bully you? No. Shisheng shook his head. Who dares to bully me? She was the only one who bullied others. No one had the guts to bully her. Are you used to living outside? If not, you'd better come back to the palace. The emperor shook his head helplessly and said with concern. Shisheng restrained himself and answered obediently. Pretty good. You're grown up now. Imperial Father can't control you. But Changning, shouldn't you prepare for your marriage? The emperor was very worried. His daughter was already 17 years old. If he waited any longer, how could she get married? Didn't you say you liked the Junwang? Do you want Imperial Father to give you an edict? Although he did not like Duan Muqi very much, if his daughter really liked him, then he could only accept it. Shisheng. She touched on his sore spot. Duan Muqi was the male lead. How could a cannon fodder like her casually covet him? She didn't want to court death. Shisheng lowered his head. Imperial Father, I don't like the Junwang. Oh. The emperor was surprised. He had heard that his daughter wouldn't let go of the Junwang, but thinking that she had beaten Duan Muqi before, it didn't seem strange. It was good that she didn't like Duan Muqi. He didn't like him very much. For one thing, he didn't have the blood of the Duanmu family in his body. For another, he was an outsider. Since you don't like the Junwang, then which family's young master do you like? Tell me, Imperial Father will give you some advice. Imperial Father, do you really want to know? I'm afraid you'll cry if I tell you. The emperor's eyes brightened. Really? Ha ha ha, tell me. Let Imperial Father see which family's young master is so capable that I, Changning, like him. Under the emperor's expectant gaze, Shisheng said calmly, I like Lian Qin. Who? He didn't seem to hear it clearly. Was he old? Lian Qin. Shisheng repeated word by word. Prime Minister Lian. The emperor. He didn't hear it wrong. The emperor's expression was very interesting. After a while he asked uncertainly, Changning, did you say it wrong? Imperial Father. How could I say anything wrong about the person I like? Accept reality. This Baobao has taken a fancy to your treacherous minister. No. I don't agree. The emperor slammed the table and stood up. His face was serious. You can choose any of the princes in the capital. Even Lianchen is not allowed. His voice was so loud that Shisheng's eardrums were numb. She knew it would be like this. Asterisk. There should be a group name here. The emperor. As a father, why don't I even have a name? Mubai, I don't have a name many times. What is your world? Shisheng. Everything without a name is ugly. Mubai, where's this gentleman's knife? System. Why are you looking for a knife? Can you beat her? Mubai, suicide. System. The emperor. System owner. Xu Fei. Little fairy, what the hell is this? You came in without paying the fee. Vote before you speak. Chapter 928. After roaring, the emperor reasoned with Shisheng. Chongning, Lianchen is not someone you can control. He is not a good match. There are many good men in the capital. You should choose a better one. Who could be better than Lianchen? In terms of power, Lianchen was second only to the emperor. In terms of beauty, he crushed all the creatures in the capital. Most importantly, no matter how good those men were, they were not the ones she was looking for. She even despised them as vases. But I have my eyes on him. The emperor was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. What do you like about him? I've taken a fancy to everything. You. The emperor was trembling with anger. He pointed his finger in the air. I won't agree. You can choose a prince consort yourself, or I will choose one for you. The emperor was so angry that he even used me. I choose Lianchen. Accept him. The emperor added angrily. Shisheng took a step back. I don't choose him as my prince consort. I choose him as my grand tutor. This was her ultimate goal. If she really wanted to be with Lianchen, how could this cheap imperial father stop her with just a few words? The emperor widened his eyes. Grand tutor? Let Lianchen, a treacherous official, be her grand tutor? Why would he teach her? To rebel? Or was this just a way to get close to Lianchen? Before the emperor asked, Shisheng directly gave a choice. Anyway, if you don't want him to be my grand tutor, you can let him be my prince consort. No. Then I'll leave the palace. Do you want to piss me off? The emperor was so angry that he pounded the table. The emperor didn't agree no matter what. Shisheng just did it. He didn't go back home that night. The emperor was so anxious when he heard this. He sent the imperial guards to look for him everywhere in the capital. In the Lian mansion, Lianchen was standing in front of the desk in his underclothes. There was a piece of rice paper in front of him. As he waved the brush in his hand, the ink spread and a landscape painting gradually became clear. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. Lianchen didn't respond. He was carefully drawing the outline of the mountains. When the last stroke was finished, he slightly raised his head. Come in. Creak. The person walked to the desk and said respectfully, Young master, the eldest princess is missing. Lianchen put down the brush and his eyes flashed. Lost? How did you lose it? I heard that the eldest princess and His Majesty had a quarrel in the imperial study. After she came out, she disappeared. Right now, all the imperial guards and imperial guards in the capital are looking for her. They should be reaching our residence soon. The imperial guards searched house by house, and the prime minister's residence was naturally within the scope of their search. What is it? I don't know. At that time, only His Majesty and the eldest princess were in the imperial study. They could arrange for people to be by the emperor's side, but this kind of conversation where there were only two people left was not that easy to find out. Lianchen picked up the handkerchief on the table and wiped his fingertips that were not stained with ink. Then he picked up the folding fan beside him and said, Let's go take a look. There were already servants waiting outside. When Lianchen went out, someone handed him a coat. As soon as Lianchen walked to the gate, the imperial guards also arrived. Prime Minister. The man in the lead jumped down from his horse, cupped his hands and bowed. Lord Duan. Lianchen nodded slightly, and his soft voice spread in the night. Why are you visiting so late at night? Duan Feng cursed in his heart. He clearly knew everything, but he still asked. Suppressing the dissatisfaction in his heart, he said, "Her Royal Highness the eldest princess is missing. His Majesty sent us to look for her. I wonder if the Prime Minister has seen Her Royal Highness the eldest princess?" These princesses and princes, when something happens, they cause a storm in the city. Aren't they the unlucky ones? Duanfeng's heart was very unfair. No. Lianchen turned sideways. Does Lord Duan want to go in and search? Duanfeng looked at the Prime Minister's residence behind Lianchen and thought for a moment. Sorry, go in and search. Young master? If the young master didn't let them in, how would these people dare to barge in? Lianchen lowered his head, blocking the expression on his face. The person who spoke knew his young master's decision, so he shut his mouth and didn't say anything more. Duanfeng didn't search for long. Soon he came out with his men and half-heartedly cupped his hands. Sorry to disturb you, Prime Minister. Goodbye. Go ahead and search. Duanfeng didn't wait for Lianchen to speak and directly led his men to the residence in front. Young master, this Duanfeng is getting more and more arrogant. Lianchen lowered his head and played with the folding fan in his hand. He gently opened it and slowly closed it. Duanfeng's life won't be long. Duanfeng turned the entire capital upside down, but he couldn't find the Shisheng. At this time, the culprit was tied up and sent to a ship. Don't ask why she was tied up. Can she say that the plot and luck, those two little bitches, teamed up to cause trouble? When a person is unlucky, cold water will be stuck in their teeth, let alone a plot who always wants to kill her. The plot only loves her biological daughter, the female lead. The cannon fodder has to come out and be abused, adding oil and vinegar to the main character to increase the pleasure. Flip the table. Abuse your uncle. I just want to pick up a man. What kind of outrageous things have I done? Before, she was just watching the show and provoked a bit. Why was she the unlucky one? This baby doesn't accept it. The host is sick and needs to take medicine. Stop acting and quickly pull out your sword and chop these little bitches to death. Wait. I'm a righteous system. Why would I have such a terrible idea? Master, come online quickly. I might have been brainwashed by the host. Shisheng could definitely save himself, but she had to see which idiot dared to kidnap her. If she didn't sacrifice herself to the sword, I would feel sorry for the humiliation I endured, and was brought here by these idiots. Shisheng was thrown into a place that looked like a warehouse and was still tied up. When those people left, Shisheng quickly untied himself and stretched his numb muscles and bones. He leaned on the small window and looked outside. There was a yellow river outside. He was actually tied up on the river. Thinking about it, Jean's state was not near the sea. If he was really tied up on the sea, it would be a supernatural event. Shisheng tried to pull the door, but it was locked. There were sounds of people moving outside. Someone should be watching. Shisheng took out his iron sword and swung it at the door in the air. Then he slashed the door, which wasn't very sturdy to begin with, into two halves. While the people outside were still in a daze, Shisheng dashed out, killed the two people, and threw their bodies into the river. After looking around, Shisheng walked toward the deck. The boat was quite big. He met a few people on the way, but they were all easily killed by Shisheng and thrown into the river to feed the fish. Ouch. Ouch, I can't take it anymore. It hurts. Shoo. Keep it down. Do you want the people outside to hear you? When he passed by a room, there was a soft sound from inside. Shisheng paused and turned to look at the room next to him. The door was also locked. Shisheng looked around and found a window, but it was a little high. Shisheng stepped on the pile of debris below and leaned on the window to look inside. Asterisk hashtag today's red envelope flavored tickets hashtag new week's red envelope flavored tickets, recommendation tickets, monthly tickets. Don't be a coward. Hashtag New Year is coming. Are you sure you don't want to post a long comment in the last few days? Hashtag. Chapter 929. Fate was a magical thing. But Shisheng didn't believe in fate at all. She only knew that the plotline wanted to kill her. Why was the female lead inside? Flip's table. Shouldn't she be lovey-dovey with the male lead, cultivating their relationship, and then making babies? What was the meaning of being kidnapped and brought here? Aren't you tired of the hero saving the damsel in distress? Even if you're not tired of it, I'm tired of it. Learn from I. When did you need your man to save you? Sheng felt that she should write a book. The title of the book could be The Female Lead Saved by the Male Lead. Your man didn't even want to save you at all. The system's complaints were scolded by Sheng. The system felt wronged. Was it wrong to speak the truth? Your man didn't come to save you, and you're angry that the female lead was saved by someone else. What a psychopath. My host might be a psychopath. What should I do? Waiting online. Urgent Yin Jinxiu sensed that there was someone by the window. She looked up and met a familiar pair of eyes. She froze for a moment, then realized who was outside. She didn't know why she called out, Princess Royal. Her call attracted the attention of others. Before they looked over, Sheng jumped out of the window. I'm not going to be the female lead scapegoat. The window returned to its original appearance, as if nothing had happened. Was there someone outside just now? A girl beside Yin Jinxiu asked. Yin Jinxiu wasn't sure if she was hallucinating. The person outside the window disappeared too quickly. Did someone come to save us? Yin Jinxiu looked at the people around her and said calmly, Untie her first. Yes, yes. Quick, help me. Sheng left the room and went straight to the deck. Who's there? A loud shout exploded. Sheng looked up and saw a burly man standing on the second floor behind her, glaring at Sheng fiercely. After a while, he yelled at the people below. What's wrong with you guys? She's already out here. Two burly men immediately came out of the cabin. They were dressed in the same clothes, so they were probably thugs. Why did she run out? Where are the people guarding her? The man on top was still questioning. Before the two men could reply, Sheng said faintly, They jumped into the river. The men. Jumped into the river? Why would he jump into the river? What are you doing? Grab her and see what's going on. After the big man upstairs finished shouting, he also went around to the side and came down the stairs. Two big men immediately stepped forward to catch Sheng. If you have something to say, let's talk nicely. What kind of man are you if you touch me? Sheng stepped back. Don't come any closer. If you come any closer, I won't be polite anymore. The men. Is there something wrong with this lady's brain? They looked at each other and sped up toward Sheng. Sheng's eyes turned cold. He turned his wrist and the iron sword suddenly appeared. Roar! Ah! The burly man who hadn't reached the bottom heard the screams and sped up. When he saw the two people lying on the deck, he couldn't help but twitch. What happened when he came down the stairs? I warned you not to come over. Did you think I was joking? Idiots! Sheng looked at the burly man. Do you want to die too? The burly man. He had never seen such an arrogant person. Guards! The burly man shouted as he retreated. Sheng raised his hand and threw the iron sword over. It hit the burly man right in the chest. His body twitched and slowly fell to the deck. The people who came out saw the burly man fall to the ground. There was a moment of silence. Then the man standing at the front waved his hand. Go. Sheng narrowed his eyes. There were always people who wanted to die. Damn it, idiots. There were quite a lot of people on the boat. There were about 50 to 60 people in total. Sheng threw most of them into the river, leaving only a few people behind. She tied everyone up on the deck. As soon as she tied them up, Yin Jinxiu rushed to the deck with a few girls. Sheng tilted her head and glanced at her. The calmness and indifference in her eyes made Yin Jinxiu freeze. It was really her. Why was she here? Yin Jinxiu took a deep breath and stepped forward. Princess Royal, why are you here? She sounded like she was questioning her. It's none of your business. Sheng's face was full of arrogance. Yin Jinxiu. Yin Jinxiu didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to respond. Sheng looked at Yin Jinxiu with evil intentions. What were the chances of her killing Yin Jinxiu here? Just as Sheng was thinking, Yin Jinxiu took out a signal flare from her sleeve and shot it into the air. Sheng. Damn. Why was the female lead so fast? Didn't they say that the female lead would delay the plot? I was fooled by the novel again. Not long after Yin Jinxiu shot the signal flare, a boat slowly sailed over from the river in the distance. The flag of the Yamen was hanging on the boat. The female lead was actually here to be a spy. Damn it. What kind of plot was this? Didn't they say that she was weak? You're not pretending anymore? The people from the Yamen didn't expect Sheng to be on the boat. When they saw her, they were so scared that their legs turned to jelly, and they directly knelt on the ground. Greetings, Princess Royal. Why is this person here? What are you doing? These people came prepared and the female lead was a spy. What was going on? The people kneeling in front of her looked at each other, and one of them told her what had happened. They were arresting a group of human traffickers. Yan Jinxiu had infiltrated this group and acted as their spy. Their plan was to wait for this group of people to arrive at their destination, find their base, and then capture them. However, Sheng intercepted them halfway. Your Highness, why are you here alone? Sheng's face was full of disdain. I was caught. Do you think I can come up here to enjoy the scenery? These people are so bold. The person was furious. Don't worry, Your Highness. I will definitely find out the mastermind. Your Highness? Where is Your Highness? The person next to him pointed into the distance. Sheng walked over to the people who were tied up. He looked around and picked up a man. He had a kind face and looked like a strange uncle who was trying to kidnap a little girl. Come tell me, who told you to kidnap me? But his voice was not kind at all. It was especially eerie. Kill me or torture me. Do as you please. The man spat. Sheng raised his eyebrows and seemed surprised. Oh, you have a backbone. Sheng's eyes curved and he used his sword to loosen the ropes. You can go now. Everyone. What was this woman trying to do? The soldiers. What was the princess doing? Everyone was dumbfounded. When they came to their senses, the kidnappers immediately got up and jumped into the river. They would be fools if they didn't run. Your Highness. How could they let these people go? Princess Royal, you can't let them go. Yan Jinxiu also stood up and said righteously, they are the scum of the underworld. You are letting the tiger return to the mountain. Sheng glanced at Yan Jinxiu indifferently. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. He didn't really understand what was going on in the minds of those girls who said they were gay. Chapter 930. Yan Jinxiu frowned. Her eyes were full of dissatisfaction with Sheng. At this time, she was still so willful and reckless. She did not have the self-awareness of a princess of Jin state at all. Sheng's calm gaze swept over the others. Stop talking nonsense. I was the one who caught him. I can let him go if I want to. If you have the ability, go catch him yourself. Everyone. This arrogance had no bounds. They had never seen such a scammer. Didn't Jin state belong to the Duanmu family? Sheng looked at the man who was beginning to panic again. The corners of his mouth curved into an evil smile. Now can you tell me who ordered you to kidnap me? There were so many people just now. If they were going to die, they would die together. The man could still accept it. But now that those people had been released, the balance in the man's heart was broken. He did not want to die. If I tell you, will you let me go? The man looked at Sheng. It depends on my mood. The man's expression changed slightly. Then why should I tell you? Did it mean that she would not let him go? Sheng supported the ground with the iron sword and said casually, if you don't tell me, you will definitely die. How do you want to die? Do you want to die horizontally or vertically? Or be cut into 8 pieces? Be dismembered by 5 horses? Hearing Sheng's words, the man's face turned from green to white. She was a girl. How could she say such torture without batting an eyelid? The man's heart was a little broken. Why was he the one who was caught and not the others? Not only did the man break down, but the soldiers behind him also broke down. This princess was too cruel. She even described death by 1,000 cuts. She described it so vividly, as if she had really done it herself. Choose one. Sheng poked the man with the sword. The cold air on the iron sword made the man's tense nerves collapse. He shouted, I'll tell you. Sheng put the iron sword back on the ground. An invisible wind flowed out from the bottom of the iron sword and spread in all directions. I don't know who he is. We get information from middlemen when we take on missions. We don't meet the employer directly. Shisheng sneered. I think you really want to die. The man shuddered. I'm telling the truth, but we have something. Whoosh! The throwing knife shot from the side of the man at lightning speed, but when it approached the man, its speed slowed down, as if someone had pressed a slow-motion camera. The iron sword in Shisheng's hand tilted slightly, and the flying dagger fell from the air onto the deck. If you want to play tricks with me, I'll beat you to death. The entire space was silent, as if everyone had disappeared, leaving only the sound of the man's heavy breathing. How could the man not know that someone was trying to silence him? He hurriedly took out an item from his sleeve. This was given to us by the employer. We used it to enter the palace. It was a waist tag. At that time, she was caught in the palace. These people took advantage of the winding roads in the palace, with the help of plot Kuan, and Shisheng deliberately going easy on them, to catch her. That's all we know. We don't know anything else. Your Highness, please spare us. Shisheng waved his hand, and the man was relieved. He got up from the ground and ran to the edge of the ship. Aren't you going to arrest him? Shisheng looked at the soldiers who were still in a daze. After being reminded by Shisheng, they came back to their senses and rushed forward to catch the man who had not yet jumped down. You went back on your word. The man struggled angrily, and his eyes were red. You said you would let me go. Shisheng played with the waist tag. I let you go. They were the ones who arrested you. What does it have to do with me? Don't throw the blame on I. I won't take the blame. You be *tch, you'll die a horrible death. Take him away. Take him away. The man was taken away, and only the soldiers and the girls with Yan Jinxiu were left on the deck. Shisheng glanced at the girls and pointed at one of them. Arrest her. She had observed the expressions of these people when the flying dagger came over just now. That girl was obviously not right when she saw the flying dagger slow down. She was not as surprised as the others, but more of them were afraid that they would be exposed. It was obvious that something was wrong. Who else would they arrest if not her? Your Highness? What was going on? You let the kidnapper go, and now you want to arrest the victim? Did you consider their feelings when you did this? Well, she was the princess, and they were just a group of people who followed orders. Why should they care about their feelings? Just arrest her. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Shisheng glared at the person who spoke. His attitude was bad. Do you want to die? Yes. The person waved his hand. Arrest her. The girl who was called saw that the situation was not right, and immediately grabbed Yan Jinxiu's arm. Tears fell down. Sister Yan, what did I do wrong? Her Highness wants to arrest me. Yan Jinxiu got along well with this girl before, so she stood in front of her. Your Highness, you should have a reason for arresting people. Shisheng glanced at her. Meddling in other people's business. Arrest them together. Yan Jinxiu. Yan Jinxiu shrank back a little. She didn't need to offend the crazy eldest princess for a person she just met. Just as she was hesitating, the girl who was weak just a moment ago suddenly hugged her from behind and pressed a dagger against her neck. The girl scolded with a ferocious face. Don't come over, or I'll kill her. Oh, she was bitten by a snake. Shisheng looked at Yan Jinxiu with schadenfreude. Who told you to meddle in other people's business? Yan Jinxiu didn't expect this girl to suddenly kidnap her. Her expression was very ugly. Prepare a boat for me. Why don't you just kill her? Shisheng egged her on. If she killed the female lead, she might become the female lead. What a profitable thing to do. The girl. Why didn't she follow the script? Your Highness, that's Miss Yan. How could you say that? Shisheng snorted. She wasn't Yan Jinxiu, so I didn't say anything. The girl looked at the officials. Prepare a boat for me. She didn't care about this girl, but others would. Don't hurt Miss Yan. We can talk about it. The officials comforted the girl. Cut the crap. Prepare a boat immediately, or I'll kill her. The girl was a little agitated. She pressed down with the dagger in her hand. Immediately, a bloody cut appeared on Yan Jinxiu's fair neck. Shisheng looked at them calmly. It was obvious that he wanted to watch a show. Yan Jinxiu was furious. She was the one who started this, but now she looked like she was watching a show. The wound on her neck was getting deeper and deeper. The officials were still talking nonsense with the girl. Shisheng felt that if this went on, Yan Jinxiu might die. Dreams were full, but reality was not. When the girl was about to slit Yan Jinxiu's throat, the officials compromised and asked the people to get off the boat. They probably wanted to leave the boat to the girl. "Your Highness, this way please." Shisheng thought for a moment, and got off the boat with the others. Judging from the girl's attitude, she was much more loyal than the kidnappers. She probably wouldn't be able to get anything out of her. It was better not to waste time. Chapter 931. Yan Jinxiu and the girl were left on the boat, and the girl asked the officials to drive the boat away. The distance between the two boats gradually increased, and the figures on the deck became smaller and smaller. In the end, they couldn't see anything. "What do we do now? Miss Yan is still on the boat." "Follow them. We must save Miss Yan." "Easy for you to say." The officials gathered together to discuss countermeasures. Shisheng took a chair out of nowhere and sat on it to eat melon seeds. When the officials finished their discussion, they saw this scene when they turned around. Everyone. "Your Highness, you are too relaxed. We are not on vacation now. Can't you be a little nervous?" Bang. The violent explosion shocked everyone. There were aftershocks on the deck, and the river shook even more. In the distance, flames shot up into the sky. Explosion, explosion? Shisheng's hand that was eating melon seeds also paused. She swore that she didn't do anything. The explosion had nothing to do with her at all. After the explosion, the government sent people to the river to salvage. Yan Jinxiu was found at the bottom of the river. She was only knocked unconscious and soon woke up. Shisheng later found out that Duan Muqi was in charge of this matter. No wonder he could invite the female lead, Yan Jinxiu. After Yan Jinxiu woke up, the first thing she did was to complain to Duan Muqi about Shisheng's evil deeds. Duan Muqi had already found out what had happened from the others. It was the emperor who had ordered him to investigate this matter. Who knew there would be such a coincidence? With Shisheng causing such a ruckus, all his previous efforts had gone to waste. Duan Muqi directly reported this matter to the emperor. The emperor was relieved that he found his daughter, but Duan Muqi sent such a big piece of news. Shisheng came back alone. The emperor didn't know that Shisheng had been kidnapped. After hearing Duan Muqi's words, he didn't punish Shisheng. Instead, he scolded Duan Muqi. Duan Muqi came out with a dark face. When he saw Shisheng standing outside, a sinister look flashed across his eyes. He snorted heavily and left. Shisheng silently gave him the middle finger. "Your Highness." A gentle voice sounded from behind. Shisheng calmly retracted his hand and turned his head. The intense color jumped into his sight. The man stood quietly with a fan in his hand. His eyebrows were lowered, and his silhouette was covered with a layer of soft light. He was like a model, and he was the only color under this lens. "Prime Minister Lian." Shisheng's eyes curved into crescents as he glanced at him playfully. "One day apart feels like 3 years. Your Highness, watch your words." Lianchen raised his eyes slightly and made eye contact with Shisheng. "This is just a normal greeting." Shisheng spread his hands. "Prime Minister Lian, what are you thinking about?" Lianchen. There was something wrong with what she said to begin with. How did he end up thinking of something else? He was silent for a while. "I heard that your Highness was kidnapped. Were you injured? Will your heart ache if I get hurt?" Lianchen smiled. "This humble subject will naturally worry about your Highness. This is this humble subject's duty." Shisheng pursed his lips. "No." Hearing Shisheng's reply, Lianchen didn't know why, but he suddenly felt relieved. It was a strange feeling, and he didn't like this feeling of being out of control. Lianchen lowered his head and said in a low voice, "This humble subject has something to discuss with your Highness. I'll take my leave first." Lianchen walked around Shisheng in his gorgeous clothes and went into the palace. When Lianchen came out, it was raining outside. It was already summer, and the rain was fierce. The sky was dark, as if it was about to fall. He looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. The rain that was blown by the wind hit his face, and it was a little cold. Prime Minister Lian, are you taking things too hard? Do you want to calm down in the rain? A teasing voice sounded from beside him. Lian Chen's first reaction was that what did taking things too hard have to do with calming down in the rain? His second reaction was that it was Shi Sheng's voice. Lian Chen slowly turned his head and saw the girl standing at the end of the corridor. She was alone. The cold wind blew her skirt and made a sound. The sky was low behind her, and it was very gloomy and depressing. The girl's face was calm, and her eyes were like a 10,000-year-old cold lake. There were no waves, but they emitted waves of coldness, which made people not dare to look into her eyes. That was not the look of a 17-year-old girl. Lian Chen suppressed the doubts in his heart, turned around and walked a few steps into the corridor. Your Highness, you haven't left the palace yet? I'm waiting for you. The cold light in her eyes seemed to melt in an instant, and a faint halo spread in her pupils, causing slight ripples. We're going the same way, so we can go back together. Lian Chen couldn't refute, because they were indeed going the same way. Lian Chen wanted to keep a distance from Shi Sheng, but his behavior was always somewhat uncontrollable. Your Highness, please. Shi Sheng came from the end of the corridor and walked down the stairs with her skirt in hand. The palace maid waiting on the side immediately trotted up with an umbrella to block the rain for Shi Sheng. Lian Chen followed behind with an umbrella. The rain blocked his view, and the figure in front of him was a little blurred. Lian Chen remembered what the emperor said to him just now. He quickly walked a few steps forward to shorten the distance between them. Your Highness, His Majesty said that you want this humble official to be your Thai tutor? Shi Sheng slightly looked sideways. Yes, why? Even the Prime Minister doesn't want to? Lian Chen slightly frowned. Your Highness, this humble official is busy. I'm afraid I can't teach you. Tai Tutor Chi is leisurely at home. He's the most suitable person to teach you. But I want you. Tai Tutor Chi was addicted to eating melon seeds. Last time, he cheated her. She didn't want to see him at all. Lian Chen's breath stopped. For some reason, that sentence made his heart beat faster. He lowered his head to hide the unnatural expression on his face. His voice was cut into pieces by the sound of the rain. Your Highness, this humble official can't afford to accept your kindness. In this world, only you can afford to accept it. The girl's voice seemed to spread from a distant place. It was ethereal and ethereal. It pierced through the curtain of rain and hit his ears clearly. It ironed into the bottom of his heart and lingered in his ears. Lian Chen suddenly took 2 steps back. His tone unconsciously hid a bit of evasiveness. Your Highness, please find someone better. This humble official will leave first. He couldn't have anything to do with her anymore. Lian Chen held the umbrella and left quickly. The sound of the rain couldn't wash away the panic in his heart at this time. Lian Chen returned to the fu. His clothes were soaked and stuck to his body. Wisps of cold air rushed into his body. He gradually calmed down. She's just a woman. How could he have such a big emotional fluctuation because of her? Gongzi, why didn't you take the sedan chair and walk back? Lian Chen lowered his head and looked at his soaked clothes. The folding fan in his hand was still dripping water. His eyes slightly darkened. Nothing, prepare the hot water. That person hesitated for a moment. Yes. What's wrong with Gongzi? He looks like his soul has left his body. Is the emperor making things difficult for Gongzi again? Asterisk. There should be a group name here. Lian Chen. I might be sick. The emperor. Beloved minister. Where are you sick? Do you need Jin to help you with court affairs? Shi Sheng. Lovesickness. System. You've been in the rain for so long. It would be strange if you didn't get sick. The emperor. Shi Sheng. Little fairy. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.